What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Radiovania, episode number... I don't know what episode this is.
11.
Number 11. This is Radiovania After Dark. The time is about 9:25, and we are in Lehigh University, Pennsylvania, in Bethlehem. Ha! I got through it. And this is your nerdy entertainment podcast of the week, and if you haven't noticed, February's been a bit of a light month, but we've got two specials for you. Just a little bit ago, I posted the episode with me and John Parker, driving in the car, talking about a little bit the Oscars, talking a little bit about nerdy stuff here and there. And now we have After Dark. And what it is there's three friends here, and we have great conversations. Not just great conversations, I say excellent conversations. And we're here, saucy.
You could even say that the conversations would be saucy.
And we're here to kind of give you guys a little bit of a taste of that. We're going to have 3 topics, 1 per person, and then we're going to have a group topic to talk amongst us about. But without further ado, let's get into it. My name is Zach Rotella. I'm your host. Sitting across from me is John Parker.
Good to be back.
Good to be back. What is it? We were just talking about how many consecutive appearances you've made.
This will be either 5 or 6.
5 or 6?
Oh.
Well, you're a veteran at this point.
Good stuff.
Yeah, you're on that ground
floor. Love being on the show.
I'm a newbie. This is my first time.
Yeah, and that new sexy voice you hear over there across the table is Mr. John Larson.
Hey.
Is that John Larson or is that Matthew McConaughey?
Oh, it looks like John Larson to me. John, we've known you for a long time. I kind of gave the brief backstory on John Parker when we had the first show, but it's like we all went to high school together, maybe even earlier before that. I know me and you the first time I went to school with you was 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And
it's cool, guys.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We're just a little bit closer friends, though.
Already.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we're all close friends here, and basically we just wanted to share our thoughts and feelings about a certain number of things.
Yeah.
So before we jump into the first topic, just want to remind everybody that if you like the show, you can like us on Twitter. Go to Twitter and go to Twitter at Zach Rotella, follow me, or Radiovania Show at gmail.com. John, would you like to have the honors of kicking this conversation off into high gear? We're sipping on a little bit of that Eagle Rare tonight, so
yeah, I'll get going
show.
with the topic.
Okay.
So to lead off the show, my topic is which is a better franchise as a whole. So this includes all forms of medium, as well as anything else you can possibly think of that is associated with these two franchises. And those franchises would be Star Wars versus The Lord of the Rings.
Now, these are two things that we're very fond of.
A little more fond of than the average person.
Okay. And I'd say the weight on these two franchises lean in interesting directions between the three of us.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to how you want to start it out? What's your favorite between the two? If you had to pick one that you're, let's say, more connected with.
At least going into it. 'Cause who knows? You might feel different.
I mean, yeah, I love them both so very much. We'll see if my opinion shifts, throughout this debate.
Yeah, we'll see.
But my favorite is Star Wars, hands down. It's been my favorite franchise since I was 3 years old. Living and breathing it through every day. I think I've seen Empire Strikes Back at least once a month for like the past 4 years or so. But yeah, I'm going to have to go with Star Wars on this one as my favorite franchise. Shocker, I know.
But yeah. No surprise there.
And I'm going to have to combat you and say Lord of the Rings is my favorite franchise. And vastly for the... Oh, no.
Really? Huh.
And vastly for the same reasons. I grew up watching The Lord of the Rings. I always felt more connected to fantasy than I did to sci-fi. And so when Lord of the Rings rolled around the bend, when a good friend of ours, Michael Richard, introduced me to the world of Lord of the Rings, I fell head over heels.
Shout out to Hard as Mike.
Yeah. If you're listening to this, go to Twitter, go to Hard as Mike, and tell him, I don't know, what should we tell him? Tell him he sucks?
No, tell him we love him.
Tell him we love him. We don't want to ruin his confidence.
Yeah.
Tell him he sucks. Tell him Jaime Lannister is a terrible character, and you'll get a nice Twitter war with him.
No, you'll get blocked.
That's possible.
You don't say that.
Yeah, you don't say that. But yeah, I got to go to Lord of the Rings on this one, John.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you.
Hostile.
Yeah.
I'm in the danger zone already.
I would say, though, that, it's huge. Both of these series have a huge impact on our lives just because of the fact that we grew up having those series books or Star Wars, just the movies, impacting us and growing us and sort of seeing these characters and really sort of for the first time relating. For me, I can remember when I was like, 7, 8 years old, seeing the first trailers for the Fellowship of the Ring. Before I even got to the theaters, I had some of the lines memorized. And I don't know what drew me in, but thank God that it did.
Well, those trailers, man. I mean, like, the first Lord of the Rings movie I saw in theaters was Return of the King.
Oh.
But it wasn't the first Lord of the Rings movie I saw, of course. But of course there were those people that kind of connected with the trailers or whatever. But man, when I heard that Return of the King was coming to theaters, I blew through those movies and then read the books. So, did you start with the movies or the books first with Lord of the Rings?
I started with the movies.
I also started with the movies. I don't think...
Yeah, me too.
I think we're all too young to have read the book
I agree.
before the movie came out.
Yeah.
Because that's a hard read for... We were in, second grade, maybe?
That's the thing is
2001?
Yeah. No, that's accurate.
That's not a book we could easily sit down.
Sure.
I remember giving it a try, too, because I was like, oh, yeah, like the classic, I should definitely read the book if I love the movies this much. But, Tolkien is a pretty dense writer. I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful
it's no Game of
writing.
Thrones.
But, I think it was just tough for us to tackle at that age. But, recently going back in and rereading those stories. I mean, The Hobbit, I did read The Hobbit.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Before the movies came out, I had read The Hobbit, and that, to this day, is probably my favorite book.
I would agree with that, too. I've got the leather-bound miniature version of that. It's like my Bible, really. And, The Hobbit. The Hobbit was one of those things where it was, my uncle read that to me when I was a kid. And so I knew the Hobbit story, but I didn't, know the Hobbit story until I started reading it. Yeah. Great book.
Yeah, The Hobbit's a fantastic novel. I actually like Fellowship of the Ring better as a book, even though Lord of the Rings is kind of hard to just separate up into one thing.
It's one story.
You can't just sit down and watch one of the movies.
Yeah,
you can, but you want to watch all of them. But I really like the Fellowship of the Ring book a lot. I've actually read that one multiple times. I haven't read through the whole series as much as I read through the first one.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, in terms of characters...
Let's start with characters.
See, this is where there's some fuzzy lines, of course, in every debate. But the characters in Lord of the Rings are just so vastly better.
Yeah.
I would disagree with that.
Everything that you stand for.
I think Star Wars has one of the greatest villains of all time.
Darth Vader.
What's
so great about Darth Vader?
Darth Vader is a complex character, first and foremost, but you don't really kind of figure that out until you get further into the series. But what's interesting about Darth Vader is his first on-screen presence, he just carries around just like evil, and you can just tell, especially, when Empire rolls around and he's choking his own guys and stuff like that. And I just think it's one of the most iconic and best delivered villains.
The thing for me, though, on that, is he's certainly a villain, but I think you're right, he's a complex character, and that by the end you're wondering, well, was he all bad? The story almost pivots around this battle between good and evil in Darth Vader. And something for me, I guess maybe jumping ahead a little too fast.
No.
We're
all talking here.
Yeah, I would say that the big thing for me is that in the Star Wars universe, victory and the good guys winning doesn't mean that evil is destroyed. Victory means bringing balance to the Force. You have the light and you have the dark, but it doesn't mean getting rid of the dark side, which for me was something, even as a young kid watching Star Wars, I struggled with, because I was like, well, did we win? And yeah, Vader dies at the end, but now we have the Force
Spoiler
Awakens.
Alert. John, come on.
By the way,
if you haven't seen it yet, it's on you.
Spoilers for all franchises
if you
about
haven't
to be
seen a movie that came out in
completely out the window. Yeah.
It's on you. But anyways, so the Lord of the Rings, on the other hand, you have this, ultimate evil, Sauron. And obviously he has minions and characters that we're fighting. And
you have the persona of Sauron, too. The evil in Lord of the Rings kind of carries throughout multiple characters.
Exactly, and it's more of an overarching presence than just a single character. And I know that in Star Wars you have Emperor Palpatine, you have, the Stormtroopers.
I like that little sigh.
Yeah, the thing is, there's some really bad Star Wars characters.
There's bad in every universe. There's some terrible
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings characters.
Yeah.
Who?
Alfred from the
Alfred.
Hobbit trilogy. I know we're talking about Lord of the Rings.
Discounting
though,
every character
but-
that Peter Jackson created.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I like the characters with Star Wars. I think are really easy to relate to. Like as a kid, I think it's really easy, especially watching through the original trilogy, to relate to Luke Skywalker. You know, because he's the teenager that gets caught up in it, and it's the hero arc, which I know is
the classic
hero arc that's used a lot. But the reason why it's used a lot is because it's fun and it's very engaging,
and it serves a purpose for the story.
Yeah, definitely. My favorite character in fiction is from Star Wars, but
And who is that?
we'll get there. We'll get
We'll
there.
get there? Yeah. Well, where are we going? Why don't you just hit us?
me?
No. You guys
Okay,
stick
so
around.
then what's next?
Stick around.
What's next?
What do you mean?
What are we talking about next?
I thought we were still talking about Lord of the Rings versus Star
Oh,
Wars.
well, no, we're still talking about
Yeah,
that.
but what about it? Tell me. Okay,
Okay.
so what's your answer, I guess, to my qualm of there being no ultimate triumph over evil in the Star Wars universe? How is there really kind of an end of, now we have The Force Awakens coming out where
That kind of changes a lot.
It
of
changes.
Stuff. Yeah.
well, right, but I mean,
Because at the end of Return of the Jedi, Palpatine and Vader are both gone.
and so you assume that the light side had won.
Right.
Right.
They didn't bring the balance to the Force thing until the prequels, though. So if you take those out of the equation, the original trilogy is good.
And I
But
do.
you can't, because
No,
they're
I
an
do.
entire series. They're an entire series. We were just saying how we can't segment and we can't dissect each individual Lord of the Rings movie, for instance. And I know it's tough because, certainly Star Wars spans a much longer time period, but it's the same George Lucas. I know it's different writers, but it's the same universe. It's the same story. And so I don't think that you can separate those two because that is the story that we have. We can't say, oh, no, this is how it was left.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know, that's tough for me. That's something that I struggled with. I love Star Wars. Being friends with John Parker, you can't not be a lover of Star Wars.
Just to be clear,
discredit
it's not a what's best and what's garbage.
You're here.
It's what's great and what's simply
Great.
great.
What's great and what's great?
fundamentally
Yeah.
great.
It's basically whichever one
Yeah,
like more.
it's a preference thing. And you said at the beginning you weren't. Who knows what you would come around to at the end of the debate? And the truth is, we've grown up with these franchises our whole lives, and I don't know if there's any one film. Who knows? What is it called? The Tale of the Jedi Temple, Episode 8, could be the most superb piece of film ever created.
Ryan Johnson, please.
Praise be to the Ryan Johnson gods.
Now that's something that I envy you, is that your story isn't over.
Yeah.
So
I was about to bring that up.
I'm saying that there's the Lord of the Rings, there is an ultimate triumph over evil at the end, and I think that's why I can say, to this day, at the end of the Return of the King, I cry every time.
Every time.
Not just because it's sad and because there are things going on, but it's like you feel like you've just finished a journey, and you're sad that it's coming to an end, but it did. Whereas Star Wars, it's still going on.
It's still going on.
Which I think that's something.
Praise be to God.
We had The
on.
Hobbit. We had The Hobbit, but that was just drawn out and.
But it
great
was
book,
more.
too, so.
But the reason why The Hobbit was good, and I defend The Hobbit. I'll always defend The Hobbit, not as being a great film, but a great story in the Middle Earth world.
Absolutely.
And so, and that's the thing, is that when Lord of the Rings finished and I read the books and I saw the movies about 100 times and I bought the DVD box sets, I was like, where do I go from here? And of course, Tolkien you go to Star Wars.
Yeah.
Tolkien has so many other great books. Have you read The Children of Hurin?
No, but I have
Thurin
read
Hurin?
the Silmarillion.
The Silmarillion, I tried to read,
It's-
failed at it, and then a couple years later I picked it back up, and that is a
Tolkien starts getting experimental up on us.
that Silmarillion is the most whack-ass book
Yeah.
I've ever read.
Yeah, well, that's like when you read C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia. When you read The Last Battle, having read The
real.
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and then The Last Battle, it's totally different. You don't even know what's going
That's
on.
another topic for another day. But I
Yeah.
hate the Narnian books.
How?
I don't like. I don't like
C.S.
how.
Lewis and Tolkien were best friends.
I know, but I
like a couple of them. I don't like all of them though.
No.
I like
like
the Witch and
parts
the
of them.
Wardrobe. I
Yeah.
love Prince Caspian. That might be my favorite actually.
I like The Horse and His Boy a lot. It's kind of like
You're one of those people.
yeah. I mean, it's
I don't
kind of.
understand any of this.
Anyways, I don't want to get off into that series because that's another argument. But I mean, both of them are fantastic. I just think that the Lord of the Rings, just the story that is told and the compelling nature of it, and like really all of the illusions that Tolkien brings in, like they're so relatable. And it's all about how there's no... Go ahead.
This is one thing that Lord of the Rings does win on, is it is based on a fantastic and completely game-changing piece of literary fiction, whereas Star Wars is written for the screen.
Right.
So, like, praise be to Tolkien. He's the master man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he wrote some pretty poignant stuff.
Yeah. And
considering the latter of fiction. But.
And, you know, that's why I really love the Lord of the Rings story. I really do. I like Star Wars better because I feel like I can relate better to the characters. Not saying that I can't relate to any of the Lord of the Rings characters. I just feel like I can put myself more into Star Wars for some reason. I don't know. I mean, the biggest argument I think I'm going to have is just the fact that I've just been pounding it in my brain since I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
So that just... I didn't see Lord of the Rings until the beginning of high school, actually.
Really? I didn't know it was that late for you.
I had a friend that showed... Because I wasn't allowed to go to see PG-13 movies when those were coming out. And my parents didn't read the books, you know, so they didn't care. My uncle did, but I mean...
Wait, till high... So what did they say about the prequel movies that were PG-13?
The only one was Revenge of the Sith.
How old were you when Sith came out? Were you old enough to go?
9. So my mom had to take me.
Okay.
But that was Star Wars, and that's like our family's franchise.
Yeah.
Like that's just something that we all enjoy. But yeah, I didn't see Lord of the Rings until freshman year.
Wow.
I had a friend who was like
game changing.
Yeah,
I had a friend, huge. And we had a lot of similar interests and stuff like that.
You've
and
changed.
He was like, "Have you seen Lord of the Rings before?" I was like, "No," and he's like, "Dude, we gotta watch these." And I was like, "Okay." And like I had heard that they were really long, and I had when I was in elementary school and the kids that were allowed to see it, I saw that they really liked it and stuff like that. But I just never got it. Same with like, I also didn't read or watch Harry Potter until high school either. It's just something that I either wasn't allowed to or just too focused on Star Wars to care.
But
honestly.
frankly, that's when the appreciation comes.
Yeah, I think it was good that I watched it when I was older.
That's probably true.
So I watched them all then. So it's just I have more of a lifelong fandom for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Another thing that I think is important is I think Star Wars has a bigger cultural impact.
I was also going to say this.
And presence, especially now, too.
A clear winner for Star Wars, in my mind, is merchandising. Merchandising is merchandising is a huge part of any franchise. And there's some movies out there, like I love The Grand Budapest Hotel. That's one of my favorite movies of all time.
They don't have figures for that, though.
They don't have action figures for that movie, and for good reason. But for Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, you kind of have to have toys and stuff like that. And Star Wars has just lived on constantly with its toys. If I go to Walmart right now, there is no chance in hell I'm finding a Bilbo Baggins action figure.
Yeah.
Maybe when The Hobbit was coming out, but like thinking about that, to me, when I was a kid, I was living in the time when Lord of the Rings movies were coming out, so I could get these action figures. I
still have a treasure chest full of them.
Yeah, the
See, I don't have it.
I've had a like deep set. That was like 4 Christmases in a row was Lord of the Rings centered.
See, now I'm getting jealous because I wish I had Lord of the Rings toys.
No,
I
but
just have crates.
Dude, come over,
but Star Wars was there too.
Trolls.
But awesome. Star Wars was there too.
I have the Lego
I think you'll change your
Rings
mind.
stuff.
After you get your hands on the Lord of the Rings action figures.
I think Star Wars wins the toy thing.
That's what I'm saying. I think Star Wars wins because even
Star
though
Wars has had paired with Lego too for a long time.
Well, Lord of the Rings had Legos.
Yeah, for like 2 years.
Oh,
Star Wars has had
right,
like a decade. I mean, I have all the Lord of the Rings Legos. I'm not discrediting anything here.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I think Star Wars wins the merchandising because it's always been there and it's still there and it's going to be there for the next 10 years. Lord of the Rings just doesn't have that power of like. It doesn't have the fun factor as much,
Yeah, no, it's certainly less of a fun atmosphere, a fun universe. It's less of a fun universe. Yeah. It's more
way serious. Darker, way more dire.
Far more, because I mean, truly, you think that thinking back to the Return of the King, like you think it's all over. Mm-hmm. Like it is. To quote Gandalf, "The night is always darkest before the dawn." And like, and
didn't Two-Face say that?
Harvey Dent.
I believe.
Sorry.
Keep going.
No, but whereas in Star Wars, like I'm not sure if I ever felt like the darkness was going to win. And in Lord of the Rings, obviously, I probably didn't really feel that way either. But going back to my original point of, like, you're right, like, Star Wars certainly is a more fun universe. I think it's also a much broader universe because, like there's just so many things to explore. You have aliens, it's a galaxy, whereas, the Lord of the Rings is grounded in, it's just Middle-earth.
You can look at the entire Lord of the Rings thing in that map in the corner of your room, you know? I mean, like, that's the whole thing. You can't do that with Star Wars. There's galaxies and planets and solar systems.
Yeah. But, I mean, I will agree with you here. The big difference is the Lord of the Rings is a to Z. You have it all. We have it all. We've seen it all. We love it all. Star Wars is not a complete story. It's ongoing, and you're right in the fact that evil, good never really wins, and evil never really wins. It's more of just like they keep shifting.
Yeah.
Because like at the end of Empire Strikes Back, the Empire struck back, and they might have won a couple battles, but obviously they didn't win the war. And then now in The Force Awakens, we got bad guys coming back up, and they're wearing the same uniforms and stuff like that. And you got a guy pretending to be Darth Vader and whatnot.
And they've got another Death Star.
And they got a third Death Star. That's what's up.
Third time's the charm.
Hey.
Oh my gosh.
Death Star 4, it's coming. Episode 9. Just you wait.
I will swear off of Star Wars if they do that. Yes, I absolutely will. That's ridiculous.
But can you
I already thought that
that's
was ridiculous.
what the bad guys do.
One.
Batman's bad guys break out of Arkham. Star Wars bad guys build giant super lasers.
The only funny thing was that at least they poked fun at themselves, when Han Solo. Yeah, Harrison Ford was like, so what? It's bigger. That's what I was feeling.
There's always a way to blow those up.
How good was The Force Awakens?
It was great. Force Awakens
fantastic.
is my third favorite Star Wars movie.
Okay.
That's how good it was.
Yeah.
It pushed out New Hope. I mean, it didn't push out a New Hope, but
wow.
I think it's a better.
Oh wow!
I think the Force.
I don't like the New Hope anymore.
I think the Force Awakens is a better. It is more entertaining than a New Hope.
Yeah.
It's the funniest of all.
It's the most humorous. I think the characters are diverse and interesting.
Actually, yeah, watching The New Hope over Christmas break with you guys, I kind of realized how little happens in A New Hope. Like,
it's a very fast movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's when the original Star Wars came out, the biggest part about it was just the spectacle,
right,
of the visuals of it. That hadn't been done before.
Empire was the one that really turned the tables with characters.
That is beautiful.
Oh, Empire's a beautifully shot.
All the stuff that they didn't get right in the original, they shaped it all up. Like,
Bespin is still one of the most iconic film sets to me. Like, I think about Star Wars, I think about Bespin. The pathways, the walkways, the
think about Lando Calrissian. Is what you think.
Oh my gosh, who doesn't?
Hey,
whoa, what have we?
I know.
Please come back, Billy D. Please.
Oh, if there's one thing that the Star Wars franchise has more than Lord of the Rings, it's Billy D. Williams.
Actually, that is one more good point that I wanted to bring up is in terms of the cast and the iconic acting impact that Lord of the Rings left. I would argue I've never seen a cast that perfectly molded for each character assembled before or after. Like, I don't know. And maybe it's just because, like, I, saw them in that, and that's how I grew to understand.
Star Wars is more of like, you can typecast Star Wars characters.
Exactly.
Because it's not, the characters don't exist beforehand, kind of like in Lord of the Rings do, where the characters have been in a book for decades.
Yeah.
And then you have to perfectly cast
each character, each actor that played these characters, like, it was just perfect. Each person added a nuanced bit to the role and, like, really just made up the whole thing. Whereas, like, in Star Wars, I would think that there are some forgettable characters. You want to maybe mention?
Oh, there's definitely some forgettable characters.
Forgettable characters.
If we didn't praise
Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, that's not forgettable. That's the most recognizable character in any of them.
No, it's so horrible.
No, I think honestly, like one of my favorite minor characters in fiction is Nienno, and he's in that movie for what, a minute and a half too, and like that, it's just like The Lord of the Rings movies focus on such a tight-knit group of characters. It bugs me. It makes me so mad when I hear people say there's too many characters in Lord of the Rings. Who's the main character?
Tell them to watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Game of Thrones can go die in a garbage fire.
At Hard as Mike.
Hey, Michael. We have much
Hope
love.
you're listening.
But yeah, so overall...
I think so. I think you're right. I think, Lord of the Rings it's kind of character-driven, which is really good.
How's that? It's beautiful.
Star Wars is more of like universe-driven in some specs. But it's also, I don't know. I can't talk against either one of these.
No one's about to.
I love them too much. I love both of them too much.
You can pick flaws in any of my favorite things, and that'll go into my topic here in a minute. But like, I could find so many holes in Lord of the Rings. Like, I mean, they are long. I like long movies, but not everyone likes long movies. So I can see why someone might not, really dig Lord of the Rings. Like, I'm gonna set that down. We live in the age of Netflix shows, where it's like you can binge stuff.
And Lord of the Rings
is hard to binge, right? Yeah. Like, we talk about all the time that we want to do our Lord of the Rings marathon, where we wake up in the morning, we cook breakfast, and we start with The Hobbit. We watch all 3, and then watch all 3 Lord of the Rings movies in one day. It would take about a day, a whole day.
Like 20 hours probably.
But that is crazy. If you think about that,
so much.
We are such a minute percentage of the population that would enjoy that.
Actually, on that point, that is something that I wanted to say is I think a broader range of just general audience members can enjoy Star Wars. I will admit that I think Lord of the Rings is more of a niche audience because, frankly, if you compared a Star Wars nerd to a Lord of the Rings nerd, I think the average person would say, oh, like, Lord of the Rings, yeah. But at the same time, that doesn't take away from the magnitude and the really just how impressive this series is. But yeah, I think Star Wars is more broadly enjoyable, whereas, maybe some people can't really get into Lord of the Rings as much. So
yeah, and I think Star Wars, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Star Wars might be one of the first movies, like I'm talking 1977 original, that kind of made nerd franchises like public, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that Lord of the Rings wouldn't exist without Star Wars coming out, because I think they would have been made into film at some point.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm just saying, after Star Wars comes out, they can start making comic book movies. They can start making sci-fi movies. They can start doing whacked out stuff out there. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I've taken...
Because beforehand it was all, drama or sing along. Yeah.
I've taken film history classes at college, and one of the few things that is cool is looking at the defining moments. Like, one of the things one of my professors always talks about is how Jurassic Park was such a defining moment because of the dinosaurs, right? Like, you saw things you didn't see before. With Star Wars, that's a whole movie of things you've never seen before, and that engendered an entire audience that had never, ever seen stuff like that before. And I totally 100% agree with you. I don't maybe not agree that it specifically opened the doors for Star Wars or for Lord of the Rings, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm not saying that
specific.
But I'm just saying it made it
definitely
easier.
Like, think of like other space movies. Like, I know Alien. It bombed, but like, Alien. Or think about Jupiter Ascending. Like, remember that piece of crap? Did you see that?
No.
Did you see that?
No.
But like, that movie couldn't have even come into the theater without Star Wars.
And you have like visual effects and stuff like that too, like Industrial Light and Magic, like
gods among men.
Yeah, and a lot of people like to bash on George Lucas for the prequels, but think about all the good that he did with the original Star Wars. Just like the things that he changed with movie making. The
man is a visionary.
Sometimes his visions are a little too out there.
I think
George.
Yeah. That's a whole nother topic for another day.
I'm sorry, George, but we don't want to sit around and watch a movie about trade blockades and federations.
We'll
give me an hour of Darth Maul fighting Qui-Gon. And the Phantom Menace is up there.
Oh my gosh, the Duel of Fates. That's
another thing. Music.
Oh, we didn't even touch on that. Let's finish on this.
Star Wars music is very iconic, and John Williams is the man, but I can't listen to either soundtracks without crying.
That's true.
I can't. I went running before The Force Awakens came out. I went for a run, and Star Wars was just firing on all cylinders in my head in like early December. And I went for a run outside, and I was like, I'm going to listen to the Star Wars playlist that I made. And it starts out with like the Duel of Fates and stuff like that, and it works its way, and then it ends, because I wanted to time it correctly, and it ends with the throne room from the original Star Wars movie, and I'm running back to the house, and I just start crying because it's just like, it's like bringing back, me sitting on the couch with my family watching it for the first time, and watching it with my uncle and stuff like that. I'm about to get really weepy here.
Go for it.
But so I'm running in Columbus, and I'm bawling, and these people are looking at me like I'm a crazy person. Like, it looks like I just murdered somebody in the woods, and now I'm crying about it and running back. But anyway, Star Wars music, it's everywhere.
It is. And this is the point, is that I do think Star Wars has the most iconic soundtrack in film history. But iconic is different than best.
Yeah.
And for me, I think the orchestral oh my magnificence, of Lord of the Rings, Howard Shore just nailed every one of them.
It's
and it's
like for me the Sauron like ba-na-na, bum bum is just as powerful and just as memory recalling as bum 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 bum. But again, I would say that that's not true for everyone. If you play the Darth Vader's theme song, everybody's going to know what that is.
Yeah.
But
if you play the Battle of Pelennor Fields soundtrack, some people are going to be like, yeah, and some people are going to be like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just
this behind the world.
That will depend on the manner of your return. Death or
I also want to give a shout out to Howard Shore and versus John Williams is that there are, I'm going to say roughly, I have no idea in my head, I'm talking out my asshole right now, 15 individual iconic themes for Star Wars.
Sure.
For Lord of the Rings, I'd say there's about 25.
Yeah.
I'd say there's about 10 more.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
the Shire, you've got
I'm saying
at the very beginning of the movie is
Concerning Hobbits. Yeah, we all know the song.
Right, exactly. We know.
Then you have the Fellowship theme. You have the Two Towers theme, like the Riders of Rohan theme. All the battle themes.
You have the Gondor theme. You have and then you have
every place has a theme.
Right.
And each place's theme is totally distinguishable from the next. Like. Some of that was my biggest problem.
What do you mean by distinguishable? As in, like you listen to it and you know what it is.
You know what part of the movie
But see, that's what you can do with Star Wars.
I know, but
you know what I mean? Like, if I'm listening...
You're right.
Yeah, if you play the Imperial March, you're thinking about Darth Vader walking on the Star Destroyer. If you play, the Binary Sunset theme, like the Force theme, you think of, Tatooine, Luke looking out at the suns. Dual Fates, you recall the lightsaber fight. Across the Star Stuff theme, you think of Hayden Christensen, and you're like, oh, damn it. But, I don't know. I wouldn't say that one has more iconic themes than the other, because both parts. If I listen to both of those soundtracks, I know exactly what's going on in each song.
And I think that's just because we're crazy and we're really nerdy like that.
Yeah.
Probably.
But I do think that Lord of the Rings has... There's a quantity on Lord of the Rings. It might not all be as good as the Imperial March, but each place has its own distinctive theme. And I think that Star Wars themes, while they are iconic and distinguishable, definitely crop up in more than one place and at more than one time.
That's true. That is true.
And Lord of the Rings is really good at like making you feel a certain way based on the place you are. Mm-hmm. You'll never hear.
It's kind of like an old video game where each place has its own.
Or a play. It's like a play.
Yeah,
like each segment has its own sort of feeling to it.
Oh,
You'll never hear the Gondor battle march while you're in Rivendell. No. That's just never a thing, and I think that's really special.
Yeah.
But wrapping it up, we got to wrap this one up because we've been talking for about 33 minutes on this, which I'm happy about.
This would definitely be the bulky one.
We'll see about that one.
Yeah, here it comes.
But yeah, so in finality, I still think that Lord of the Rings is one of the best film franchises of all time. Return of the King is my favorite movie ever, and I think that Lord of the Rings just stands up as a quality piece of art, And I say the same for Star Wars.
When it comes to the cinematography, when it comes to the musical score, and not just the iconic moments of the score, but just how it was written, when it comes to the characters, yes, but then on the alternative side, which JP, I'm sure you're going to say, it's, you have this sort of like lasting, broader reach.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
JP,
here's what I got to close on.
Close us out.
A lot of people aren't going to consider the Star Wars franchise as a whole as, a beautiful piece of art and stuff like that. Because you have instances like Jar Jar Binks and Hayden Christensen acting and overuse of CGI and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I would say the exact same points for what you guys said for Lord of the Rings about how beautiful it is overall, story, characters, music, everything. Plus, with the cultural impact on top of it, I think it's hard to not just go with it. But what I want to finish with is just, it's my personal preference.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's how it is with us. It's just fun to have these discussions.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know.
I'm sorry, but you're wrong.
Too much.
All right, moving on. We're going to talk on my topic. We're going to save John's topic for third, and then we're going to have the group topic last. To remind you, this is Radiovania, your nerdy entertainment,
Nerdy.
comedy, whatever, nerdly.
Shut the fuck up.
Hey, we're sipping on the sauce. We're feeling.
Slipping on the
So here's what I want. Here's what I want to propose to you guys.
Lay it on me, Holmes.
We all love different things.
Star Wars.
Ooh,
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, give me an uncle. Give me a bump. It's getting up on John.
I need my uncle right here, Cal Smith.
That'd be great if we could have Cal on the podcast. That'd be great. But we all love these.
I told him about your podcast, actually.
Really?
He said that was really cool.
Oh, cool.
And he thinks that's awesome.
Awesome.
And you say it was pretty neat?
No, he didn't. He said that was pretty cool.
So, we all...
Wait, hold on, Zach. I'm going to let you finish in a minute.
You ain't got the answers.
You ain't got the answers. Sway. It's been a Kanye weekend.
Oh, it's been a Kanye month.
It's Kanye life. No Pablo. All right, go, Zach.
In our lives, we all gravitate toward these certain things that we say we love, right? Like we love certain bands, or we love certain video games, or certain movies, like to the point of love, you know? Like, do you ever stop and think about how interesting that is that we love these entertainment properties? Mm-hmm. It's interesting to me.
Like more than people?
Sometimes more than people, sometimes more than life itself sometimes. You can be invested in a character in a show and just be like, I want this person to succeed. And you don't think about the ordinary person in life like that sometimes. It's a powerful thing about art that makes us human, and it makes us, people, and it makes us think about these things in these specific ways. And basically what I want to say to you guys is, what are the different kinds of entertainment properties? So that could be music, movies, television, a book, a piece of art like a poster or a painting, anything, a podcast, a speech. What is a piece of art that you wish everyone would listen to or watch or read? So you have your time on the pulpit. I mean, in a falsified scenario, let's say you get your time on the pulpit in front of millions of people and you say, hey, everyone, right now, this is what you're going to listen to. You're going to put this album on your phone and you're going to listen to it right now, just because I think it's that good. Because not enough people, some things in our lives, what we talked about earlier, it's like people don't watch Lord of the Rings until they're in high school. And to me, that's unfathomable. But to you, it was totally normal. But there are some people out there that
I wish it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
I wish I'd watched them.
So it's kind of unfathomable to me that some people haven't listened to or read or anything of our favorite things. These things that we love, And so I want to gauge your reactions. JP, it looks like you got something on the docket.
I'm ready.
Tell me, lay it on me, because I thought that maybe I was going to have to go first and you guys were going to have to think about this.
No. As soon as you asked this question, the answer.
Go ahead.
So the thing that I wish more people, would take part in, I'm a pretty big comic book reader.
I know this.
Yes. In case you guys didn't know, I'm a huge Batman fan. It's shocking, I know.
Who isn't? That's the thing.
Some people don't like him, man.
That's
we talked
true.
about
That's
this over
true.
dinner. Some people are like, man, he doesn't have powers. All right, shut up. Anyway, I wish more people would read comic books. I do. I know the problem is, each individual one you have to pay for and stuff like that. So it can get pricey unless you, buy them as collections and whatnot. But the reason why is, as pieces of art, they all have their own significance within the comic book world and stuff like that. And what I really enjoy about it is, like, you go out and you see a blockbuster superhero movie in the summer, like Ant-Man, for example. Ant-Man had about an hour and 50 movie, which was entertaining, and I liked Ant-Man. Ant-Man has hundreds of issues of comics out there that nobody has read, because it's just something that isn't necessarily like a socially accepted everything. Some people think that people who read lots of comics are dorky, and stuff like that. But you have, you have these really good comic book movies, like these Batman movies and stuff like that draw in multiple story arcs and characters and events from multiple comics, and they put it into a 2.5 hour or 2 hour movie. But I wish more people would experience the joy of reading each story individually, because there's a lot more. It adds more depth to the characters and to the world and stuff like that. And, that's why I'm really excited, about the DCEU coming up, is because the DC comics are that's what I like the most. I like the DC universe a lot. I like the characters and the stories. And, it would be nice if more people could be able to talk about it, because there's just some people that, they just don't take part in it. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just finish up with saying, like, it's just, there's a lot more. It's like an iceberg. The movies are the tip of the iceberg, but you have all these comics beneath it that I think are really, really worth your time. And, you can get more invested in the character instead of just being like, yeah, I like Batman, like, I'll wear the shirt. Christian Bale's really cool. I like the Joker and stuff like that. Or you could be really invested in the character because you've seen different artist renditions of him, different people who've written. John has Batman underpants on, so
and he's casually showing us them at the table.
Got it's just the Batman logo right on the crotch,
right on the. There's just right on the money. It's a deeper world than people know, than like the average person knows, and I just think it would be cool if more people would dive into it.
Why do you think that comics are so hard for people to kind of get?
They're not sold everywhere. That's a big thing. You have to go to a comic book store, Yeah. And some of them, I will admit, like, you go to a comic book store and you have people, playing, like, really nerdy card games and stuff like that. And,
Magic.
So you go to these stores because a lot of them, they
That's the pot calling the kettle black. They're playing nerdy card games like Magic, but here we're sitting talking for 40 minutes
seriously.
about Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Anyways,
I'm not discrediting anything.
Just giving you a hard time.
Oh, no. We're just joking.
No, here.
All nerds are accepted here.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
I'm just... One is, it's hard to get a hold of them. You have to go out and look for them if you want it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't... Like, you watch TV and you'll see a commercial for a movie. You don't watch TV and see a commercial for the next issue of Superman that's coming out next month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's obviously a different form of media, but...
Well, I think it's all about, in this case with comic books, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because I ask you questions about comic books a lot because I'm not really into the... I don't read very many comic books. The most I've read in the past few months have been the Batman issues that you've lended me.
Yeah.
And my biggest question is, the reason why I think, at least as an outsider, that I think that comic books aren't more successful is because of the barrier to entry in terms of cost.
Yeah, that's a huge problem. But we didn't really ever talk about that on the last radio about February news. But when DC announced that they're rebooting
the world, that's right. We did forget to talk about
They're bringing the prices down to $199, which is the cheapest it's been in decades.
What are the prices now?
Like $4.99, $3.99.
Really?
Yeah,
per
for
issue?
one issue.
See,
DC's they're cutting it down to $2 per comic. It's gonna be a flat rate for every series. So it's not like Batman's gonna be more expensive than Aquaman or something like that. Because they want to get back to, I think you're right. I think the price had a huge impact on it. Someone's not going to go out and buy a 20-page comic book that costs $5 when you can buy a novel that's like a couple hundred pages for $5 on Amazon or something like that.
Sure.
Well, I would say, though, are these going to be online? Because, frankly, people just aren't reading print anymore. They're reading everything
Comics
online.
have shifted to digital. The ones that are new that come out monthly now come out online. There's multiple apps that you can use to get them. You can buy them on Amazon, on your Kindle.
Because that's convenient, too, because then you have them all literally
and they're even
hand.
starting to do digital transfers of ones from like the 70s and the 80s that you can read. Because I'm reading the original X-Men run by Chris Claremont on my computer right now.
About a year ago, I tried to get into comic books, and this is before you and me started hanging out even more. But I was like, I want to get back into comic books because I remember reading them as a kid and I loved them. And I heard everybody online was talking about Comixology because they just got bought by Amazon at this point. Yep. And so I downloaded the Comixology app and I bought like 10 or 12 issues, a couple different Superman things. A friend of mine told me to get into Invincible, which I started reading.
Yeah,
I haven't made it through, but I want to make it through.
It's good. That's produced by Image Comics, which is kind of like a more indie.
Yeah, and people have told me that I would relate with indie. My style.
You like stuff like the Dark Horse comics. And Image, but anyway, continue. Sorry.
And no, you're fine. And so I downloaded.
Shut
I downloaded this app, and I was like, I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna buy a couple comic books every week, and I'm gonna get back into this sort of lifestyle.
Sure.
And I soon realized
why do that when I can just give them to you?
That's true. I soon realized.
How many comic books do you have?
Oh man, we're about to get into another whole discussion.
A lot, but yeah, I'm gonna let Zach finish on it.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Hold on, I'm gonna let you finish.
I realized how expensive it was.
Yeah. It is.
And
It
in a
really is.
weekly thing, I'm a college student at this point. I'm buying meals. I'm buying, hey, you got gas. You got all this other crap. And I started looking at my bank account, and I was like, okay, what are some expenses that I can take down this month? And I looked at the Comixology, and I was like, I've only read these. I've only read a couple of these. I'm not super motivated.
Because, I'll admit, there are some story arcs that you read in a comic, and you're like, I can't really see myself rereading that, Like, you'll read a book in high school or something like that that's assigned to you, and some of them you really like and you would reread again, but some of them you're like, I can't really see myself reading that
Wuthering
again.
Heights.
Oh my God, what a pull. I haven't thought about Wuthering Heights in a minute.
But yeah, no, you'll read it and you'll be like, I can't see myself rereading it, but then you'll read one story arc that you'll reread again and again.
Yeah.
Like, there are multiple ones that I've done that for.
So
it's made it worth the money. If I buy it once and I've read it 5 times, I can kind of justify it there. But it's also like, you just spent, $20 on a collection of 6 comic books, basically,
So, with my question, with comic books being your answer, if, you can't just go out and say, hey, people, read more comic books, if you're speaking to the crowd, what's the one comic book? Or what's the one, if you got to give them, a binder, it's like this, it's like, here's an issue. Here's a whole run of
You want,
Batman.
a specific thing?
Yeah, I want a specific thing. I don't want you to say just, listen to more music, read more books. What's the comic book that you want someone to read? Is it Death in the Family?
It is not Death in the Family. That's good, but it's not, a game changer. I would say Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns.
Okay.
Or...
That's a good pick.
Grant Morrison, or Alan Moore's Killing Joke.
Okay.
Or...
No, you're allowed to pick one, not 6.
I've got a few.
Jeff Loeb's Long Halloween is really good.
I'm on that one right now.
How far are you into it?
Not very far.
Yeah, it's good. You'll like it.
Good.
You'll like the ending. A lot of the Dark Knight movies are based off of Long Halloween and Dark Victory, which is the red one that follows that. But anyway, yeah, I'm a huge Batman fan, so I'm going to recommend a Batman book.
Okay.
A majority of the time. Yeah, it adds more value to the character, especially for people that don't really like Batman because he's, doesn't fly or something like that.
Yeah.
It gives you an in-depth look at all those characters and stuff like that. I just can't get enough of Batman book, honestly. But
John?
an overarching story would be the Snyder Capullo Batman run for the past 4 years has been fantastic. And unfortunately, it's coming to a close next month. But
All right, you've got.
But no one knows and no one cares.
Seriously, yeah. Hey, everyone out there,
Read up.
You
got 49 issues to catch up on.
John, for every page you don't turn, John cries 1 tear.
1 like equals 1 respect. So for me,
Yeah, John, hit us up.
actually, very, very timely question. I think. Just got into an argument with a loved one of mine, who just really couldn't understand this, I guess, fascination / just love and passion for older film and older music. And I think so often our generation just gets turned off to a black and white movie. And it's heartbreaking to me because, I firmly believe I'm an old soul. And I have my parents to thank for that. I was raised watching these black and white movies, or thinking about music. I was raised on artists like Tom Petty, Buddy Holly.
Tom Petty's coming to Bunbury this year in Cincinnati.
Oh my gosh,
Did you
is
know
he
that?
really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He's playing with his supergroup band.
That's fantastic. He's still got it. But anyways, but just this person's telling me, how much of a niche interest it is, and people, just don't get it, and is it really that good? And it's very unique, and I just wish that it wasn't, because I firmly believe that those are the things that have made me who I am today. And you have to understand where film and where music has come from, and the history of these things. And just because it's in black and white, just because it's 50 years old, doesn't mean it's bad. Some of the best movies I've ever seen are 60 years old. Hands down.
What are some of those movies? Just to rattle.
Well, do you have?
Just to
Do
pick
you
your brain.
do you have some of the
Some of your favorite old movies?
Some of my favorite older movies.
For me, I really like Casablanca.
Well, yeah, that's the classic.
that's the
And
classic.
most people, thank God, have seen that one.
I'm surprised some people that haven't, honestly.
Which is just crazy to me. But, you know,
Like
Casablanca,
old John
that's
Wayne
got
movies,
Humphrey and
stuff like
McCall,
that.
and they're in so many fantastic movies that
Ingrid
I've seen them in.
Bergman.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
She died.
Yeah, I'm thinking
died.
about, like, classic Jimmy Stewart movies, though.
Yeah.
You know, something.
The Rear Window, right?
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, I think, is such a good one. And I think if I had to choose a single movie that I would make people watch, or not make people, but
No, you're making them. You're sitting them down. You're
I mean, I'm holding some kid's head over Dark Knight
you
Returns.
better.
I'm like, you better read this Batman comic. I'm gonna shove you through a wall.
You pull up a TV screen at your thing, and you're like, well, guess what? Motherfuckers, we're watching this right now.
I would say, It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, okay.
And you know, that's a Christmas movie.
You know who hasn't
sure.
seen It's a Wonderful Life? And this is gonna blow your mind. Guess who hasn't seen it?
Drew.
No, Connor Kempf.
Oh my
Seen
gosh.
It's a Wonderful Life. Doesn't that blow?
He's the Christmas
He's
man.
the Christmas man.
He's
If I've ever seen one.
he's
Our
basically a
Christmas
Grinch.
tree in our living room is still up.
Wow.
It's not because of Connor. It's just because we're lazy. But anyway,
Might as well leave it up at this point.
It's a
I think
Wonderful
he's a good
Life
down.
might be my favorite Christmas movie.
It's a Wonderful Life might be one of my favorite movies
Oh,
of
wow.
all time.
Jimmy Stewart, he's the man.
Oh, yeah. Did you guys know that he was a World War II vet?
Mhm.
He was a general in World War II, came back.
A lot of the movie stars back then
Oh, yeah.
were involved in service too. Like
Oh, yeah.
Elvis and Clark Gable,
But anyways,
Dreamboat.
I'm gonna jump in and say that in support of your argument, I've never seen Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
oh my gosh.
I haven't either.
As a
good.
film enthusiast, I call myself. What's my motivation to watch it?
It has such a poignant message for today about the bureaucracy of politics.
Okay.
And it's about this honest, real guy who goes to Washington with just this desperate desire to actually do something. And, like, Jimmy Stewart plays the most honest, like, just good-natured guy ever, and he just gets taken advantage over and walked all over. And it's about his quest to just stay honest, to be a good person, to be a good politician. And when you look at politics today, it just makes you sad. It's like
we're living in a whack ass.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But It's a Wonderful Life. Just regardless of whether or not it's a Christmas movie, it's just so good. I've seen that movie 30 times and I cry every time. And acting wise, story wise,
We're a sad
oh my gosh,
group of
yeah.
people.
We just got the feels. We're in tune with our feelings.
Yeah,
but,
no, nothing wrong with that.
but
No, not at all.
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. It's all right. I'm here. But
I want you to show me Batman underwear again.
I just wish that people could watch movies like that and see just this very real story about a man who's given up everything for the people that he loved. One of my favorite lines out of anything is at the end of that movie. He opens up a book and in it says, "Remember, George, no man is a failure who has friends." And I think that so often people get caught up in this success-driven and competitive world, and they lose sight of what's really important. And movies like It's a Wonderful Life just really hammer that home, and they're so good, and we have so much to learn and so much to enjoy. We have 60 years of art that people just throw out the window because it's not, from the last 5 years. So It's a Wonderful Life is my example of one movie that you absolutely must watch. Turn off this radio show as soon as we're done. Turn it off.
As soon as we're done.
Go turn on the TV and watch It's a Wonderful Life. But in general, just be more open-minded to older film, to older music, because the art world that we have today came from that. And it makes so much sense when you watch it and when you can appreciate these things. And really, you can sort of start to feel like, oh man, I wish that we could go back to that. I wish that we could have more of what that was, like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
I'll put it on my list.
Yeah, you absolutely should.
I'll throw in for yours, so I don't have to put it on my list.
Okay.
Singing in the Rain.
Oh, absolutely.
Singing in the Rain is, to this day, one of my absolute favorite movies of all time. I searched high and low and from every corner of the planet and sacrificed a virgin to find the Blu-ray for Singing in the Rain, and I love that. I love that movie
It's so
much. If I watch that movie and I'm sad, by the end of it, I'm happy. That is like one of the most feel-good movies of all time.
Yeah.
Singing in the Rain is great.
Oh my gosh, that's a really good example. Really good example. But yeah, just not to... I guess what I am urging is that you don't just turn things off because it's black and white.
You should be listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And those people out there who haven't seen Raiders of the Lost Ark and thought on Halloween that I was Chris Pratt from Jurassic World, go watch Indiana Jones. That's not even as old as these movies that he's talking about. And people don't even know. But yeah, I mean...
It's just there's so much culture waiting to be discovered, and it's really just has grown me as a person and made me more mature in terms of the discussions that I have, and when looking at art and looking at movies, and that's why I have such an appreciation for film. And people I'm sorry, but a lot of the shit that we see in the media today and in the art world sucks, you know. Whereas back in the day, I think they were a little bit more strict with what they put on film. So.
Yeah. Pop out Jupiter Ascending.
Pop out Jupiter Ascending. I like that those words were put on this podcast. I did not think that we were going to be saying pop out, blah, whatever.
You know what he said.
So I got
the bourbon
3.
this way.
Pass the bourbon. We're passing it. How are you doing on that? How are you doing on your bourbon? I'm about to launch. I'm about to go on a bit of a rant.
Oh, here we go.
So this is my topic.
Fill her up.
Obviously, I feel a little passionate about this one.
Wait.
Hello.
It's me.
I never leave the house without Colt 45.
Works every time. You want to know why you should always have Colt 45 on hand? You won't know when friends stop by.
Ding dong.
Colt 45, 2 zigzags.
Baby, that's all we need.
If you haven't seen Billy D. Williams' Colt 45 commercials, I highly recommend watching them. Because Billy D. Williams is the man. He's the man.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Go in. He's about to dive in.
Ask me questions.
Spit it.
Don't let me just ramble if I'm rambling. So
John, I like what you brought up, by the way.
Yeah, you did one. That was
Thank
good.
you. And wait, before you start, one more
Hold on, Kanye. I'm gonna let you finish.
I think we hit the max on Kanye references.
Absolutely not.
Never.
Shut up.
I actually, one more thing is that just to appreciate it, even if it's something that you don't like, but to appreciate, oh my gosh, this is something that's so real and so, yes, unique, but just, I don't know. I hate it when people just are like, oh, that's stupid. You know, why you watch those movies? What? Why don't you?
Why are you proud of being ignorant of art?
There you go. So, go ahead, Zach.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring up something that neither of you guys mentioned yet. Well, you briefly mentioned it, which I'm happy about. But music is something, to me, that is just so pivotal in my life. I can't exist without music. And I know I've heard a lot of people say that, and, you know, but it's a very small group of people that I feel like me, where it's like every Friday I'm checking the new music on Spotify and iTunes. I want to know what's out. I want to stay up to date with the music culture. But it's not just because new music I think is good. I think that new music is music is at one of the best moments it ever has been right now. And people can point fingers at Kanye West, or they can point fingers at not Lupe Fiasco. I was thinking of Flo Rida.
He's great though.
And like all these
Kanye?
Lupe.
Oh.
I actually like
Lupe.
But you can point fingers at like these modern artists that are kind of giving a bad name to music.
Did you know Kanye West was the most influential artist of our generation?
Shakespeare
now
in
we're
the
on
flesh.
references.
Walt Disney,
Nike,
Google.
Who gonna be the Medici family? Or you gonna marginalize me until my moment is gone? All right, you can edit all of that out.
Oh yeah, I can bleep it all. So one of the things that hits me the hardest in life is when people say they don't like or have not listened to the Beatles. That is so unfathomable to me that that some people could say that they haven't listened to a Beatles album or listened to a few Beatles songs, or if they have, that they say they don't like the Beatles. I can understand if it's not your like genre of music, but you have to know that the Beatles are the Beatles, and the Beatles are the Beatles for a reason.
The Beatles are the Star Wars of music.
Yeah. The Beatles.
Settle down, JP.
He keeps trying to bring it back to this first topic.
I'm trying to win, all right? I just got ganged up on. I don't know how I feel about it.
Well, it was your mistake jumping into this podcast then.
You know you want me here.
I do.
I don't.
John?
So, 2 Beatles albums that I'm going to suggest right now. And you two. I know you guys are music fans. I know we all listen to music a lot in this room specifically. But we're a niche, right? What kind of experience do you guys have with the Beatles? Really quick before I launch into this.
Oh my gosh. I remember driving to soccer practice when I was 8 years old, and my dad had the Beatles playing in the car. Like, I had those songs memorized before I even discovered music on my own. So, like, really, it's not even fair for me to say that I discovered music on my own because, like, you know, I have my dad to thank for, like, this fantastic taste in music that I have.
Shout out to Peter Larson.
Yeah, shouts out for
Peter
sure.
Larson
but yeah,
is
like,
the man.
truly, like, one of the foundational pillars of my music collection.
Sure.
Mine's actually a little bit different, and hope we're still friends after this. But I didn't grow up listening to the Beatles. You know, I don't know if it was that my parents weren't necessarily old enough to, like, love the Beatles as much, you know?
What the fuck are you saying?
I'm just saying, my grandparents they liked stuff like that. So, I mean, my dad is a big music fan, but he was more of, like a classic rock 80s kind of guy. So that's kind of the music that was played on the radio when I was, you know, riding around the car with him before I could drive. I have listened to it, you know, like, I'm not, like, ignorant of it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really know as much about it, honestly.
Okay.
So,
well, I'm going to suggest the Beatles. If I'm standing in front of my podium speaking to a group of people and I'm about to say, all right, everyone put on the headphones that are under your seat, and we're going to listen to 2 Beatles albums, right? I'm going to show them Help, and I'm going to show them Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
That's a fantastic one.
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is not only one of the best albums of all time, it's one of my favorite albums of all time. And Sgt. Pepper's is such a special record. It flows so well from beginning to end, and it was one of the first albums to do them flowing into other songs. Like, it had, like, a cohesive sound. Yeah. And that was unheard of back then. I mean, but indie people were doing it, but the Beatles are the Beatles, and they're huge. And they revolutionized music, and they revolutionized the pop band.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And when the Beatles came out with Sgt. Pepper, it's like, you could bump, you know, with my friends, you can bump, you know, the Sgt. Pepper, you can bump the title track, or you can bump all these jams, but then there's stuff like A Day in the Life, where that just feels so well placed at the end of that album. And it's like a story. And that's my favorite kind. Those are my favorite kind of albums, when you can listen to it from beginning to end and get a story out of it. Less so with Help. Help is probably, you know, I like Sgt. Pepper the most, probably because it's the best album of all time. Enemy agrees with me, all these other sites, whatever. But Help has just such a good collection of catchy, well-written, just good songs from beginning to end. You got To Hide Your Love Away, Help. You got Dizzy Miss Lizzy. You got Yesterdays. It's just it's just such a good album, and it blows my mind that some people only know, like, hey, you listen to the Beatles? Oh, Yellow Submarine. It's like, oh, go f*** yourself.
Yeah, Yellow Submarine.
It's like, I love Yellow Submarine, Ringo. And that movie makes me so happy, but, like, Ringo's best song is on Help. It's just like, those 2 albums, if I was to tell anybody that was a music fan or a Beatles, you know, not a Beatles fan, to listen to those 2 albums, change your life.
I've got some Beatles records right here. I kind of want to just put them on.
I know. See, talking about the Beatles makes me want to listen to the Beatles.
We'll listen to it after we
close out the show. 100%. The other album I'm going to put up, I also had a movie that I wanted to say, but I'll keep it short since we're going long on this one. But The Grand Budapest Hotel is my favorite Wes Anderson movie. That goes along with the older films, too, because that is very much a new film with the heart of an oldie.
But that's classic Wes Anderson.
Oh, classic.
And that's like, you know, I saw Fantastic Mr. Fox. People just don't get that when they watch it. Now, granted, this is Wes Anderson we're talking about, so like most people are like, "What's going on?" But like, yeah,
people aren't used to it.
It's the older style.
Yeah,
exactly.
People aren't used to it, so they can't find attachment to it.
Yeah.
But there is that niche group of people. It's like my mom loves those sort of older flicks. Like, she loves Wonderful Life and all this stuff, but she hasn't seen Grand Budapest. I plan on sitting down with her and watching it at some point because, like,
I'm gonna learn you today.
Yeah, exactly. If someone understands where movies have been and they watch that, it just has the emotional punch in all the right moments, the comedy in all the right moments. That to me is a perfect film. But the other music I'm going to stick with, because sticking on the music topic, it just recently released, and you guys have been hearing the virtues of this all weekend, and you've seen it on my Twitter and Instagram and Snapchats and whatever. One of my favorite recent bands that I've really only been, you know, finding an appreciation for over the past 4 years has been the 1975. most people, when they hear the 1975, they might think of chocolate or sex, and they might think of this boy band sort of look.
Those are song names,
Yeah.
just so you know.
And they
not chocolates and sex.
Yeah.
We've had
But I mean,
chocolate sex, though.
frankly, I think about
sex
those things
is
too
amazing.
all the time. But the songs, right?
But people
Cover that
have
up with chocolate syrup.
people have largely, mashed them up with One Direction and the sort of tween music crowd lately. And that's fine. And I like One Direction, actually. I think some of their stuff is really catchy and it's not great, but it's fine. It's well written.
Good songs.
Yeah.
Sure.
But like the
I
19
jammed to What Makes You Beautiful.
Oh, me too.
I just want to come out and
When
say
the
That
night-
was
when
John
the-
shit.
When the Night Changes is one of the most amazing.
True.
Yeah.
True chains.
Good karaoke song too. But the 1975 has sort of slipped under the radar for a lot of people, and for good reason. They have a hard barrier to entry, because if you can get past the sort of pompous David Bowie fame in an excess like sort of vibe that they put off,
Yeah.
you really start to find some of the best written music of our modern times. And like I know that it's it seems silly to say, but I've listened to their new album, which is and the whole thing is it's an 80s throwback. It's sort of an homage to everything that was neon and bright lights and flamboyant in the 80s and the 70s and the 90s, and
I was born in the wrong generation.
I completely agree, and that's a great topic also.
Yeah.
But it's titled "I Like It When You Sleep, for You Are So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It." And so many people hear that and they're just like, "Oh, what pompous bullcrap! What a stupid title! What arrogant piece of crap! What is all this? Love Me, the lead single, Love Me. It's all about like fame and feeling popular and hip. Let's be friends and do something famous." And it's like, I would sit them down, these people in my arena that I'm preaching to, and I would give them a pair of headphones.
Are you not entertained?
And I would give them a pair of headphones and I'd say, "We're listening to this album called I Like It When You Sleep, for You're So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It, that released in February of 2016. 17 tracks long, over an hour, but from beginning to end, one of the most beautiful compilations of music that I have ever heard in my entire life." And this is stuff that has resonated in me on such a deep level. And in their latest video, the whole vibe is people making fun of them. So they have YouTube comments in the video where it's like, "I only heard chocolate once, but I hated it." Like, what arrogant nonsense! What they have flashy emo lyrics and typical personality lacking frontman. It's like people look at this band and they see the tween pop stars, but I implore people to look deeper and see that this is the band that everybody loves that they don't know it yet. Because they have such poignant lyrics and such great production on these albums. Like, when Kanye's new album came out, right, everybody kind of freaked out on the internet because it's Kanye West and it's a disaster when it came out. But I listened to the album and it's like, some of this stuff is just cobbled together. Like, these samples are just thrown about and it's messy sounding. The 1975's new album, every note has a purpose and every beat has a purpose. And this album flows so well from beginning to end, and there's no Silver Surfer intermission crap or whatever that's on Kanye's new album.
I love Kanye.
Who doesn't love Kanye?
No, the song. I love
Oh,
Kanye.
I love Kanye, right.
I miss the old Kanye.
Something about new Kanye.
But yeah, so that was my final pick, is that if you haven't listened to that album, give it a chance. Give it a chance. It really is the best album that I've
Give
heard
it a chance,
in a
John.
long time. So,
That's a good one.
off my pedestal. That was a good topic.
So Zach has 3 answers.
I have
the
3.
Beatles, Grand Budapest Hotel.
I want to watch Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh,
Yeah,
I haven't seen that one.
seen it.
As a film buff, I'm
Didn't catch
ashamed to
that
say
flick.
that, but
We also didn't watch any of the Oscar movies besides Mad Max, though. So,
no, The
Catch
Revenant.
that on our last podcast.
well,
The Revenant.
we haven't. You've seen The Revenant.
Neither of you have seen The Revenant?
Nope. I know, right? No, don't get up. We're going to make too much noise. All right, John.
Wow.
We have a third topic
Don't
here.
wow us.
Oh, wow.
We have a third topic
Yeah.
here. I want to know, we're an hour and 10 minutes into the recording. How are we feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good.
We're feeling good? How are you
Yeah.
feeling, John?
Good.
What do you want to do?
Wait,
You want to
where's
keep
John?
the ball rolling?
Yeah, I do. I
Okay.
do. This Eagle Rare's got the juices flowing. loose mouths makes for good conversation. So
I agree.
Yeah. So, the last two topics have been fantastic. But I think every now and then it's good to get into some really kind of deep, profound thinking.
I'm excited.
It's actually, to quote, I want to say Santayana. I think it's Santayana. That says, it is the profounder minds that contemplate things like this. The profounder minds, not the, lost minds. Anyways, something that's been on my mind a lot recently is just with how f***ed up the world is, and the people that you see, and you can turn on the TV and it's just so depressing and disappointing. The fact that Donald Trump is a real candidate in this campaign. Sure. I tell people frequently, Rome is burning, is how I feel. And also just in your interactions with people and trying to understand this world that we live in. And it's easy to be cynical and it's easy to be negative, and but sort of understanding people as a whole. And Zach, you and I have talked about this before in the car. Sure. And so I'm excited to get into this again because, I've had some time to think about it. But it's kind of an age-old discussion. Thomas Hobbes and John Locke differed on the point of whether or not man was inherently good or inherently evil. And, in a state of nature, are we good? Do we like to get along with people, or are we evil? Are we really just kind of in it for ourselves? And I am a firm believer in the fact that we are inherently evil. We are a messed up species, I think. I think that, and you could argue this from an evolutionary standpoint of, we've evolved to have this survival instinct, and so survival of the fittest, and we got to watch out for ourselves. So like any way you look at it, I think that. And I'm not saying that we are incapable of good, because there are so many fantastic things in this life. That's what makes life worth living. Zach, you're talking about the 1975 music, film, all these things that we love, people, relationships. Just so you guys know, we're actually recording this radio session in my room at Lehigh University. JP and Zach drove 8 hours to visit me on the weekend. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to hear your perspective. On that, and
well, that's a deep and profound question. JP, what do you got?
I think you should go first.
So we've discussed this before, and this is in a very similar and equally profound way to Lord of the Rings versus Star Wars. I do think this question, at least in my mind, kind of comes down to personal preference too.
You have to be careful with that, though, because a lie that we tell ourselves in contemporary society is that, it's just a difference in opinion. Well, that doesn't change the fact that there is a metaphysical truth to the question. Now, and we can differ and we can have different opinions on things, but at the end of the day, there is an answer of, it's one or the other. And I think that so often, and I agree, you're right, I think it comes from background and perspective and what we've experienced to make us feel this way, but we are telling ourselves a lie if whenever we disagree, we just say, it's just a difference in opinion.
Agree, disagree.
Yeah, that's the biggest lie you can tell yourself, and that's the easiest way to fall farther from the truth. But I'm sorry to cut you off. I did want to say, for other things, for this one, it may very well be a case, but
when you say to fall farther from the truth, I think that's where I, at least not stumble, but this is where I kind of differ in this debate, at least with you and with different people, is that I really don't know as a species. And that's hard for me to say because, Zach Rotella representing the species of humans, that doesn't really sit well with me. But, speaking as a human amongst fellow humans, I don't know. I don't think I can say that, I know the fundamental truth. And I think, at least in my life so far, it's been all about trying to find contentment in the world around me. And I'm born into my situation just like billions of other people are born into their situations. And, I'm lucky to be in the place that I am with the good friends that I have and the great booze that I'm able to drink and the money in my wallet I'm able to spend. But in terms of if I thought out of the womb I was inherently bad or inherently good, for me the answer is just so muddled, because it depends on your definition of good and bad, good and evil. And I don't know. I don't know what my definition is. I can look at, like you said, we can look at people like Donald Trump and we can say, like, that is the definition of evil. But
I don't think he's evil.
Donald Trump has a lot of great economic points, and he's standing up for a lot of people who are in debt and looking for help in a financial sense. But that doesn't mean that he's all good. I'm just saying that you can't look at one thing and say, like, that is the definition of evil in humanity. It's a conglomeration of a lot of things. Wouldn't you agree?
But I think you could look at something like the Holocaust. You know, and that's
sure.
That's an end-all answer to things.
Yeah, but that's an event. That's an event.
But it involves actions. It involves people. It involves human intent. Like, that is evil. That is evil.
Sure.
And that's a very extreme example. Yes. But, you know, you could narrow it down to, like, the base of, like, here's something. Here's a very good example, actually. And I forget which philosopher used this as a sort of a thought experiment. But when you leave in the morning and you drive to work and you get out of your car to go into the office, do you lock your car doors?
Mm-hmm.
Of course you lock your car doors, because you don't trust your fellow man. You don't trust your fellow man. You're like, someone's going to break into my car. You know, do you lock your house when you leave in the morning? Of course you lock your house. That's something that we grow up being told and being, taught, because frankly, you're right. We don't trust mankind anymore. We don't trust our fellow man or woman.
Do you think people put boulders in front of their caves before they went to bed?
No. Sorry. Anymore was not the best.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Saying
I'm just clear.
Now or ever, there's never been like a trust of like, oh yeah, he's going to have my best interest at heart.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I did want to make a point of saying that I'm not saying that humanity is evil, and I'm not saying that JP or Zach or I am evil. I just think that while we are capable of good, we're capable of incredibly great things, such good things.
And art, we just talked about a whole mess of art. That's
just
great.
Incredible things, and the impact that people can have, and the change that we can bring. But I think deep down, there is an undeniable fact. Excuse me, not fact.
Careful, bouncing on the table there, buddy.
Sorry. Deep down, there's an undeniable feeling, if you will, of like, I'm messed up. I think that you two can agree with me that there's been a point where like you did something really and you're like, man, I'm really bummed that I did that. I'm really bummed. You let someone down. You did something bad. You messed up. I think it's just important to remember that, like, while we may be inherently bad, that like we are drawn towards these instincts of like, self-absorption and selfishness, and really just being concerned with our own survival, our own thriving.
Yeah.
I think that we need to be more cognizant of that so that we can actively fight against that and say, what are the good things I'm going to do today? What is the good? What's the change that I'm going to bring to people's lives today? Because people who think, this is like a sort of a drawn out example, but like someone's like, oh, well, I'm a good person. And like, this was an argument I was having with someone about heaven and the existence of a God. And this guy said, oh yeah, I'm a good person. And at the end of the day, when I die, I've been a good person. Then God should say, yep, you're in.
And Peter.
Right. And so the way that came up was like, what do you mean you're a good person? Oh my gosh!
Sorry.
Keep going.
What do you mean? But what do you?
I'm really sorry.
No, you're good. But what do you mean?
I'm inherently evil.
What do you mean? What do you mean you're a good person? You ain't got the answer, Swag.
I'm inherently swaggish.
But anyways, I think that we like to think that we're good because we're terrified of being critical of ourselves, and we're terrified of criticizing ourselves and taking a real look in the mirror and saying,
deep cuts.
I'm pretty shitty. I'm pretty. I frequently just do sort of a self-analysis and say, like, you know what, like, I'm not really who I want to be. And I want to change that. So anyways, I've been hogging the mic.
No. I'd like to hear your thoughts. You're speaking the most profound truth we've had on this podcast, and we've been talking about some of our favorite things. Like, you're right. Like, the thing about making other people better versus making yourself better is a point that not a lot of people think about. And I think that is a really salient, point you have there, is that, like, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I'm thinking about is, like, not how, I can make that other student's life better when I hang out with them after class or whatever. It's the first thing I usually think about when I wake up in the morning, and this is adding to your point, is like, what clothes am I going to wear today to make sure I look the best? Like, I had a big burrito last night. I'm feeling a little, fat today. I'm feeling, my man boobs are coming in a little bit. I can feel it. So I'm like, I've got that shirt with the text over the chest. I can wear that, and it'll make it a little less, visible. And it's just like, I'm not thinking about, that's such a stupid, minute thing to think. But it's just like,
that 3 times fast.
Thing to think.
Thing to think.
But yeah, that's a good point. I want to hear, I hate to force you into the mic, but I kind of want to hear your thoughts, JP.
I'm gonna agree with John on this one. This was my answer before he had gone on his little tangent, which, by the way, that was eloquent and saucy.
Articulate?
Yeah, it is saucy.
I wouldn't call something saucy. I wouldn't call something that good a tangent. I would call it a derived point.
Okay, anyway, back to that. I also agree. I think I would have to decide with inherently evil. I think it's rare to find a selfless being, and I think it's rare to find someone that doesn't occasionally have the dark thought about something, and what you said about locking your car and stuff like that, like in what we have today, you'll be walking in like a metropolitan city or something like that, and let's say it's really late at night and you're by yourself and stuff like that. You can't tell me you don't think, when you're passing every person, that they might not just start wailing on you or try and steal your stuff. We live in a world, unfortunately, where I think everyone can be consumed by fear. Like, Zach, you were saying earlier today about when you were at the movie theater and that guy walked in and you were afraid that he was going to shoot people in the movie theater.
Yeah, I had a really suspicious guy walk into our theater and turned, looked at the audience, and left. And I'm a pretty paranoid human being, but in moments like that, it was like I turned to my girlfriend and we both kind of had one of those mutually shared feelings where it was like, did you feel weird about that? Yeah, I felt weird. And so, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I definitely walking through, going home from bars in Cincinnati or in Columbus, it's like, which one of these people is going to be the one to finally mug me?
Yeah.
And that's a scary thought, but that's a thought that I have.
But then we also have this thing where we don't trust each other. Like, you might be really good friends with somebody and stuff like that, but the random person that you'll see out there and stuff like that, like, you're not going to 100% trust them until you either A, get to know them better, or, something else. But
well, it's like on that point, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like I was recently watching Friends, and
your housemates have not been watching Friends since we got here.
Yeah, it's bad. But no. To keep this point going, I think someone said along the lines of like, I never thought you would hurt me, and I've had people say that to me in my relationships, and when they say that, I say, all right, well then you need to lower your expectations because I am going to hurt you. I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna let you down. That is just how relationships work. That's how people work.
Fact of life.
Yeah. You just can't think that you're gonna have this perfect person who never lets you down and who's gonna, just hold you up, and like that's just a false perception of reality.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Keep going though.
Where was I at?
Something along the lines of
you don't trust your fellow man,
right?
Which is what exactly what we've been talking about. Sorry, the bourbon's starting to hit me a little bit.
You're good.
Starting?
It's hitting us all. I think I also liked what you said of like we live in a world where like when you're walking down the street, you've got those thoughts,
and it's sad because you want to be, I would like to consider myself as a nice person or somebody that would give people a chance and stuff like that, but I am not immune to judgment. at all. And, I think
Everybody judges.
everyone judges. Everyone does. And, like, you might even be good friends with somebody, and, when they're not there, you'll say something about that they do that bothers you. And, like, it doesn't, it shouldn't matter that it bothers you. You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. I think humans are inherently selfish. It's hard to say that we're inherently evil because I am a human being, but
that goes back to my point, is that objectively trying to state that as a human it's kind of like going back to nerd culture. It's like the elves in Lord of the Rings deciding whether or not man was cost effective or worth saving. It's like
they totally were.
And from the men's point of view, 100%. But from the elves' point of view, it's like there's a bit of a decision that has to be made here.
And that's people judge. Like we're talking about. I agree. Good example.
Well, and there's
straight fucking poll, Zach.
There's another.
Oh yes.
There's another example that comes to mind, and this is something that someone brought up.
From Star Wars.
No, in a conversation earlier that I had, but they said, "Well, is it really mankind or is it society?" But that's kind of like a get out of jail free card, because it was John Locke who said, we are born as a blank slate, and then society sort of writes on that slate and molds us. But that, even if that's the case, like, okay, well then where did the original evil come from? And why do we live in such a dark world?
The problem is that you can't test the opposite.
Yeah.
You can't test the opposite of that theory, which is like, everyone's born to their society, but you could say, like, and I think that this is a cop-out too, of saying, like, what about the person in Africa who's born into a loving, village or a tender care providing and all this stuff, and it's like, and even they can do something stupid. Well, it's like, it's because in that experiment there is no standard, there is no constant.
Right.
And I think that largely the question does revolve around to what you said, which is like, we should be looking at ways to help our fellow man. And I'm not, like, you're bringing up Cain and Abel and you're bringing up, biblical stuff. And like, I wouldn't consider myself religious or Christian or anything like that. Sure, but like, as a human, I 100% think that we should be trying our best to make the other humans that live with us on this planet feel loved.
Yeah.
And like, that starts by making a selfless effort. That starts by making countless selfless efforts, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, and I think that the debate on whether it's men are born good or born evil is a good debate to have, because it leads to discussions like this, and it leads to intelligent discussions. Like you said, the blank mind. I'm blanking on it, but
blank slate.
No. What you call it's the blank mind that does the most thinking.
The profound.
Yeah, it leads to profound men and profound discussions, and I think that that's the best part, is that, if you have the discussion, you can come to a mutual agreement. It's not like we're going to find out in this conversation drinking bourbon and talking about them into a microphone. We're going to figure out if men were born good or born evil. But
and I just think it's important to understand those things and to sort of like have this sort of sort of introspection. Because like some people are gonna be like, no, I'm a good person. Like, I don't need to do these things. And it's like, no, you're not. You're not a good person. No one is really a good person. And like, you can
do good things.
You can absolutely do good things.
But does that make you a good person?
No.
Yeah.
Right. And I absolutely think you're right. It's like, it doesn't, and it doesn't matter what faith you're from, doesn't matter what background you have. It's like, what are we going to do with that knowledge?
Sure.
Or at least this understanding. If we don't know the truth, well, we understand that, and we're not that great. But what can we do to overcome that? It makes me nervous. It makes me nervous about the future. It makes me nervous about the world that, God willing, I bring my children up in. And I think I love that we're talking about this right now, because I just know that this is a tiny, tiny percentage of people who think about these things. Tiny percentage. And it's like,
it makes me happy that there are people thinking about it, though.
I know, but so actually, I was having a conversation with one of my philosophy professors, and I was like, I had this dinner with some friends, and we were talking about great things. I just wish more people would. And he said, it's funny that you bring that up. Because, like, so often people are concerned with, like, talking about sports or talking about Lord of the Rings and Star Wars.
Like we are.
But truth and justice
In the American way.
but those things, they're never talked about anymore. And those are the important things. So, anyways, some food for thought. Think about it.
Good discussion.
Go out and help a lady cross the street.
Give some change to that man on the bus stop.
If you got it.
This has been Radiovania After Hours. We got one last topic to kick things off with, and for this, I think we're going to lead a little bit more of that Eagle Rare. Tell me about the Eagle Rare. Give me the sales pitch, John.
It's nice. It's smooth. We're drinking it neat right now. It's got a little bit of spiciness to it that I like. It's still got that kick.
And the spice.
But very, very flavorful. So I would recommend. I would say 8 out of 10 in terms of 7.5 out of 10 in terms of the bourbons that I've had. But 10 out of 10 would drink again.
In this setting.
Oh yeah, definitely. Part 2 happens soon. So we're gonna end on this one. And this is a debate. See, we're going... Oh, there's the cheers. I'm going to have to edit that one. We're an hour and 33 minutes into this. We originally thought we'd go an hour or less. So how about that one?
I don't know why we thought that, though,
Yeah,
because
we were
like
stupid.
we're the most talkative people ever.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So we're going to finish this one off strong.
Harumph.
And I think we got to finish these glasses while we're at it.
Wow.
And John, why don't you intro this one? Because you've done the least talking in the last topic. So and not for bad reasons.
John has the least to say.
John's been dead weight for the last whole hour.
Because he can't win Mario Kart. And
I actually, for the record, I just want people to know that I won Mario Kart 8 out of the 10 races. And that JP won the race 0 out of 10 races. So...
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. This topic
0 wins.
Shut the fuck up. This topic is something that Zach and I have talked about doing on Radiovania in a group setting a couple of times.
We've waited for a while to bring this one up.
It's a fun. It's pretty lighthearted, but it's the topic of what is your favorite fictional character, and what is the best fictional character.
So these are different. Explain the differences just so people don't gloss over that.
I mean, favorite, you got personal preference, lifelong love for the character, time spent with the character, stuff like that. Best character would be something that you would put on a pedestal as, it stands above the rest, and it's something that, you can't argue against or something like that.
Disregarding personal preferences, you can legitimately say no. This is the character that's so well-rounded and defined that they should be number one. Yeah. Which is hard for us to think of.
I think we have to enter this discussion with an open mind.
Oh, yeah.
This is who I think it is going in. Let's have the blank slate that John Locke was talking about. Let's have a blank slate going into this discussion.
Dude, to be perfectly honest, I don't have anyone in my mind right now for best. I'm waiting to hear your guys's so that we can, favorite. I'm waiting to hear favorites so that I can maybe make a pick, but I have no. So we're gonna have a good discussion. So
it'll be fun.
Who do we want to start it off? Do we want to?
I think I've got one.
So for favorite, you want to start with favorite?
Favorite, or you got best?
Favorite, and also up for discussion about best.
Oh, okay. So it's a twofer. It's a twofer.
I'm gonna hit him hard, hit him fast. And this is not to show my bias about Lord of the Rings.
Oh my god.
No. But JP, I have a feeling when I say this, you're going to be like, oh, yeah. Samwise Gamgee.
Motherfucker.
Was that yours?
Samwise Gamgee in The Lord of the Rings. Frankly, and I don't know if the listeners here have seen The Lord of the Rings or have read the book, but...
If you haven't, get out from under your rock and go check it out. Seriously.
He is the real hero of that trilogy. And... Frodo is the ring bearer, and he's the one who's carrying this burden. But Samwise is carrying Frodo. Yeah. And the way that he's depicted is this just almost simple-minded fool who's just so loyal and so true and so courageous. And he's the kind of guy who'd win Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars.
Did he?
Actually, that's a good thing to. Yeah, someone look it up as
Did
I'm
Sean
talking.
Astin win for that?
I'm gonna look. Oh, go into the web.
I'm pretty sure he was nominated. I'm
Yeah,
not
he
sure if
definitely
won,
should have been
though,
nominated. But
which is
anyways.
unfortunate because in Return of the King. Oh my gosh, man!
Oh yeah.
Change your life.
Here at the end of all things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up right now. You guys keep talking.
Continue. Fact check that.
He's just so normal, I think, is what makes him my favorite. He's just the everyday kind of Joe Schmo, but he rises to the occasion.
I'm going to interject. Critics' Choice Award winner, same role. All these are the same roles. Central Ohio Film Critics Association nominee. Didn't win Ohio's vote, but he's nominated.
We gotta move.
Yeah.
We gotta move. What about...
I'm still looking. I was just distracted by that.
Okay.
Anyway, so JP, I mean, what do you think about that choice? I mean, I think you can appreciate it, right?
I love Samwise Gamgee. I really do. And I would agree with everything that you said. You know, he doesn't give up, which is amazing. Because in that story, it would be really easy to just turn tail and go home, you know. But even, you know, as it gets harder and it gets darker and, you know, they encounter more perilous, you know, run-ins and stuff like that, he keeps going. And even after, spoiler alert, even after Frodo sends him away,
One of the best scenes in the third movie, by the
he
way.
comes back, fucking guns blazing, and he's
Two
ready.
swords. Like, actually two swords.
Like, actually,
two swords.
Actually, two swords, you know, and it's hard not to get moved by his performance. It's hard not to be able to relate to the character.
Sean Astin killed it
Yes.
as Samwise, for
Yes.
sure. Definitely a defining role.
Yeah.
In cinema. And, I mean, I think the thing for me, just to sort of give some preface, even if you haven't seen The Lord of the Rings, this is a gardener, and he's a hobbit, so he's like, what, 4 feet tall? 4 feet.
4 feet fall.
I think they're shorter than
4
that,
feet
actually.
tall, maybe 3.5 feet. No, I think 4 feet tall is about right.
Sure.
Only children to your eyes. But
I think he's
Children
right.
are 3 feet.
They have to be shorter than dwarves, and dwarves are about my height or less. I'm
Really?
a short man.
Dwarves are that tall in Lord of the Rings.
Some of them. They
Yeah.
can range to be like 5.
I guess I'm
yeah,
thinking
no, dwarves come up to like a man's shoulder.
Disney dwarves are
Yeah.
small.
I come up to a man's shoulder.
But
You come on a man's shoulder.
Hey, let's not get too vulgar. That was
Anyways.
good though. That was nice.
Okay.
yeah, I mean,
I like-
that's who I have. So
that's your favorite and best?
no, I mean,
He's just putting it in the
yeah,
running.
I'm
But
putting
he's,
in the
he's your
running.
favorite, though.
I think I could say he's my favorite.
Okay.
But
okay.
but like as this discussion goes on, I might have something else that comes
Yeah,
up.
and this is a nice discussion that can evolve over time. I'm not going to dive into best yet.
Okay.
Because I'm still thinking
Yeah, me too.
formulating, you know, like backups for it.
A rational opinion.
It's easy, though, for my favorite.
Oh.
I think everyone already knows. I think my favorite... Actually, I don't think. I know. I know in my heart and soul that my favorite fictional character is Han Solo.
Okay, we were just waiting for him to say it. It's like the...
I had to draw it out.
Han Solo.
Han Solo.
No.
Han Solo is my favorite fictional character for a couple of reasons. He's funny, he's charming, he kicks ass.
He's a rogue.
He's a rogue,
Doesn't answer to anybody.
he's memorable.
I mean, Harrison Ford.
Harrison
right?
Ford, God, I don't know where my life would be without Harrison Ford. Between Han Solo and Indiana Jones.
Indiana,
honestly.
right? The fact that he was both. Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
wow.
You know, I can't, you know, say that Han Solo is like, you know, as like a trustworthy person as, you know, a Sam or something like that. Because, you know, like he leaves. But when it comes down to it,
He's
comes
a rascal.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, he comes back, you know.
He comes through.
Yes.
Come through.
Yeah, he values his friends above all, you know, and stuff like that. And I was so pleased with Harrison Ford's performance in The Force Awakens, bringing that character back. Because it was like he had never left. I was glad that he got plenty of screen time and stuff like that, because we hadn't really, in Star Wars, we hadn't really seen, you know, like a movie that was kind of Han Solo heavy. You know, it was mostly Luke, which is understandable. You know, but yeah, Han Solo he's my favorite. I've just always, you know, loved the character since I was younger. When he just blasts Greedo at that cantina, he shot first. For those of you that don't know, you better check yourself.
Han
before you
shot
hurt yourself.
first.
Confirmed by the script, by the way. Han shot first.
Yeah,
Did you see
Peter
that article?
Mayhew. Yeah. Thank you, Chewie.
Go on.
Man, I'm just thinking about Han Solo now.
That's the best. What kind of feelings do you get when you hear about Han Solo? The name sends shivers down your jimmies, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. The Empire Strikes Back is my favorite movie of all time. It always has been. My favorite scene in a movie.
Oh, here it comes.
Is in Empire when they're in the carbon freezing chamber.
Everybody settle in.
It's dark except for this faint orange light.
There's fog.
There's
fog.
a misty mist. Okay. The Empire is about to put Han Solo into a
Slab of carbonite,
and they're going to freeze this guy who you have come to love over the past hour because he's witty and he just got the only woman in the galaxy on his side and he's got her heart. Okay?
Has he got her?
He's got a hold on it. And I'll tell you why. Okay? He's there. They're about to put him in. His best friend Chewbacca, this Wookiee, this big walking coppet. He's freaking out. He's sad. He's like, my best buddy's about to get put in a rock. He's freaking out. Han's like, you gotta look after the princess. Selfless. You might think he's arrogant, he's cocky. He thinks of himself. He tells his friend to focus on someone else besides himself. Okay? She says, I love you. And he goes, I know. And you're like, oh wait, he is cocky. He's kind of sarcastic.
Doesn't even say it back.
I'm just loving this. I'm gonna listen to this before I fall asleep sometimes.
Next thing you know, he's putting carbonite, blah, 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 Return of the Jedi happens. Han Solo is my favorite fictional character, hands down. He always will be. I just like him. He's entertaining. He has good values when it comes down to it. But yeah, that's where I'll leave it at that. It's shocking, I know. But
So do you want to say what your nominee is for best, or do you want to save it? You want to save it?
Yeah, I'm gonna formulate it.
Okay.
Favorite is Han Solo.
I'm going to give some honorable mentions.
Yeah, sure.
Because I have a couple honorable mentions.
For best or fave?
I'm going to say there's a gray line, because some of these I could say are the best fictional characters.
Mm-hmm.
Batman is a great fictional character, one of my favorites. I don't read his comic books as often as I should, but I've been getting some learning from you. It's been fabulous.
I'm going to learn you today.
I mean, he's going to learn me to death. And these hey, you should take the JP comic tour, because it's a ride you will not want to get off.
I read Batman Arkham Asylum for my freshman second semester English class.
It's a good book.
Let me tell you, that was a kick-ass English class.
I want that.
That was an intense comic book.
I wish I could take that class for the rest of my life.
I already read it, but I'll read it again. It
was good.
Yeah, it is good.
I'm also going to nominate Joker. And I know this might be stealing a bit of your thunder. I'm surprised you didn't nominate these guys as favorites, but we'll get to that.
Well, they are. I actually we were talking about this. I made an Excel spreadsheet with my friend Connor Kemp. Shouts out to Connor Kemp.
Shout out to Connor Kemp.
We went through my top 25 favorite, not best, but favorite, and it was Han Solo, Joker, Batman.
Yeah.
Really, Joker before Batman.
Dude,
see, I thought the same thing, but then when you think about it a little bit more,
the Joker is an
the villains are better than Batman.
Character.
The villains are always better than Batman. I think Batman's...
No way.
Batman only exists because of his villains. And the villains only exist because of Batman.
No way. Batman has his inner demons. Even if no villain existed other than Batman.
We should have a Batman podcast.
Batman would...
We should all wear Batman suits.
Hey. Even if...
Can I be the George Clooney?
You be George Clooney, you be Christian Bale, and I'll be Ben Affleck.
What were you saying, John?
Even if Batman had no villains to fight. Arkham Asylum showed you this.
Yeah.
He's fighting his own inner demons. If anything,
constantly.
He puts on the mask to hide from his own problems and his own issues. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that I can agree that the Joker is a... I mean...
I'm not saying better, I'm saying I like him.
Favorite?
I'm saying favorite, yeah.
But okay. Anyways,
that's a different.
This is awesome.
Combo.
This is great.
Yeah, this is a different.
This is good. The next three are going to be a little whack, but this is why they're nominees.
Okay.
Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's not anything that I got into, so I'm gonna have to sit back.
Good choice.
The Last Airbender is another one of those properties where it's like I wish I could make people watch it. Great show.
Fantastic show.
I don't get into anime too often. In fact, my friends are trying to get me to watch Naruto. and it's a little rough for me. It's kind of hard because it's very Japanese, and that's not a slight to the Japanese culture, but it's just like they structure their stories so weird, differently. Sorry, not weird, but Last Airbender is just such a good story,
and it's also not your typical anime.
No,
it's more of a cartoon, but it is not a cartoon in terms of the story. The story is actually one of the most intense and dramatic stories that I've ever watched.
It's
play
a
out
dark
on TV.
story. It's a dark story. If you think about it for like longer than a little bit, the kitty like feels sort of like totally hides it, but that is a dark story.
Yeah.
But yeah, great. He's a great character. Spans all 3 books, and then he's in Korra, which is awesome. I love Korra too. But
He's in Korra.
Hey, that's his granddaughter. Oh, it is not his granddaughter. Never mind. Forget I said that.
Yeah. Korra's the bae.
Yeah, no. Korra is the next
Legend of
Avatar, but
Korra.
she's born from some
Wait,
just
who's
random.
bae? Who's bae?
You're talking about Katara.
Yeah.
Katara was the bae.
Katara
was the
tomato.
bae. Korra's a bae too, but she's not Aang's bae.
Got it.
Korra was in Tron.
Shut the fuck up.
Olivia Wilde is Korra. Shout out to Olivia Wilde.
What a bod.
Andrew Ryan from the BioShock series. Great villain. Also a game you need to play. We talked about this in the car. Have you played BioShock?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I played your BioShock.
Oh, that's right, you did. So you know Andrew Ryan. Okay, so the way that character is developed, without spoilers for JP or the rest of the people,
amazing.
Just a really... we're not going to spoil it. Just a really well-developed character, really eerie and creepy, and I like that in a villain. Daffy Duck. I love cartoons, and I grew up on cartoons, and Daffy Duck was always my favorite Looney Tune. I think he has the right amount of humor, slapstick, straight man value. Like, he's always the one that gets shit on, for lack of a better term, but he always does it with such grace. Yeah. And he can assume other roles, like, Duck Dodgers and everything like that. I like Daffy Duck a lot. But my favorite fictional character of all time is George Costanza. Seinfeld's my favorite show of all time, and I think George Costanza, based on Larry David, is, without a doubt, the most humorous and well-written depiction of a selfish bastard. And it's just so entertaining to watch. Like, George Costanza, when you think about it for too long, is such a despicable human being, but it's so funny because Jason Alexander is a genius comedian and just portrays that New Yorker sort of, gross, selfish rat so well that you almost root for him a little bit. You feel for George Costanza. And so that's my favorite list, and that's where I say I think George Costanza is just such a well-written character.
Yeah.
There is no way in fucking God's green earth that he's going to be the best character, but he is my favorite.
And that's kind of like Han, it's like...
Well, you never know that. You never know. With Han, I'm saying I think Han is a way more safe bet for best than George Costanza is.
Yeah. Okay, sure. I hope so.
So how do we want to do best?
I say we each
Let's give a couple examples and we kind of shoot a little bit.
Best fictional character. That's big.
Yeah, that's huge.
We're talking about thousands of characters.
Yeah.
And even after we're done, we might not be.
Yeah.
No way.
We might not.
So this is not the end all.
No, absolutely
definitive agreement upon who is the best character.
Moment.
This is who we currently think, just based off of limited time and limited resources and limited bourbon.
Very limited. We're almost out.
Who we think is good.
Yeah, there's nothing left in there.
I still stand by
Samwise is definitely up there.
I still stand by Samwise.
I would have to agree with that. Really like Samwise.
I'm actually surprised at the Samwise games you pick. Not because I don't think that he's the best fictional character, because I definitely think he would be in the short list. But from Lord of the Rings, out of the entire Lord of the Rings...
Who do you think would be better?
Gandalf.
See, the thing with Gandalf, I don't know if he's as well-rounded, and I don't think he's as featured.
I don't think you need to be well-rounded to be the best, though.
I would say he's more iconic than Sam, but I don't know if I would say
that's true.
Best.
I just think, yeah.
Do you think the iconic nature of the character would play into him being best, though? Because I think so. I think
that's
being a beloved character also lends itself to being like, well, why is he so beloved? Because so many people connect with him.
I think more people love Samwise than Gandalf. I mean, Gandalf
that's a bold claim.
No, Gandalf is a sick character. Gandalf is so cool. He defeats the Balrog. He's a badass. He says some of my favorite lines. I'm not going to get into it. But anyways, but Samwise, time and time again. In the Fellowship, they're in the cornfield, and he stops.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He
that's
says-
a great scene.
He says, "This is the farthest away from home I'll ever be." It's so real.
We should just watch those movies.
It's so real. In the Two Towers, when he is crying to Frodo after Frodo almost killed him, he says, "There's something worth fighting for. Something that we're going to be able to tell stories about, and that's why I'm here."
Yeah, and then the
And this
entire
is a fucking
Return of the King,
gardener
you just-
from the Shire. And then at the
Yeah.
end, when they've gone the whole way, they've gone all the way to Mount Doom. Samwise has carried him up the mountain, and they're lying on the lava. You know, they're lying on the rock, hiding from lava. And Frodo turns to him and says, "Here at the end of all things, Samwise Gamgee, I'm glad you are with me." And I can tell you, had I gone through that, there is no fictional character I would rather have by my side than Samwise Gamgee.
See, you're making some really strong points here. And it's like, I love Gandalf, but the thing is that to me, for Gandalf, the argument for Gandalf would not be just because Samwise Gamgee is the constant of Lord of the Rings. He's there through the whole story because he's the companion. Like, he's the companion. He's not the ring bearer. He's the companion for a reason, right? Like, he's the rock. He's Frodo's rock. Mm-hmm. And that's powerful. And Gandalf is not there for the whole thing. I mean, Gandalf is going on his own business.
He's busy, man.
He's a busy guy. He's got a whole
wizard is never
freaking map
late.
to look over. But Gandalf is disappearing and helping other people sometimes, and it's like, but Sam is always there for Frodo for the entire run. There's only a very brief period where he's not.
And that's why I think, though, that we know Sam better than we know Gandalf. Because, like, Gandalf is great, but he's an almost unknowable character. I mean, he loves Frodo, and you know, the movies do a great job of showing him as this kind of, like, you know, laughing, you know, joker of an old man, but
like
also a
grandpa.
man of immense power and immense gravity. But Sam, yes, because he's a constant, he's always there. He's a character that we've grown to love over the course of 3 movies, who you think is just this sort of fat idiot at the beginning, and then by the end he's like...
Stupid, fat, hobbit.
Yeah, there you go. So anyways, JP, who do you think, though? Best fictional
Oh,
character?
God, man. I've been going through a couple in my head, you know. Talking about Sam has really got me thinking, and I'm not even sure that I would be able to find a way to back this up, but I think Alfred in the Batman series, I mean, it's hard to say he's the best character because he's a supporting character in basically every Batman story. But as terms of like a loyal companion, that's a really good one. But I don't know if that's who I would throw out for best.
Great character, though.
He's a fantastic character. Because he never gives up on Bruce. Like, he's loved that man since he was a small child, and he won't give up ever. Like, he'll die before he gives up. Disregarding what I said earlier about who my favorite is, I think that you could argue Batman might be one of the best characters, Bruce Wayne. So disregarding what I said earlier about me liking the Joker more than Batman, I think Batman / Bruce Wayne could be in the short list for best fictional character.
I would agree with Batman.
Yes. He's obviously well-rounded. He's had a lot of years of different, writers giving life to this character. As John was mentioning earlier, he battles a lot of inner demons. He also battles, obviously, the physical, rogues of Gotham and stuff like that. And the part about Batman that's great is that since he doesn't have superpowers, he's more relatable than other, superheroes and stuff like that in that world.
He's the hero inside us all.
Yeah, exactly. And
although we don't have access to billions of dollars.
Plus,
that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
A small loan of $1 million.
And you were talking about the iconic sense of a character also can play into effect. And I think, Batman is one of the most iconic characters, of all.
That would be my biggest point of support with Batman.
Yes.
Is the iconicness that character plays. Is that, Luke Skywalker is a great fictional character, right?
He's the hero.
Yeah.
He's a hero character.
He's the hero
like Harry
character.
Potter or something like that.
I'm thinking about, the iconicness of the name Luke Skywalker versus the name Batman, Mm-hmm. How many more people are going to know Batman than Luke Skywalker? Granted, there's a lot of people that would know both, but
Yeah.
I think that there would be...
But as a character, Batman is so much more well-developed and so much
I'd
more
agree.
fleshed out than
I
Luke
100%
Skywalker.
agree.
Because frankly, by the end of the Star Wars series, I don't love Luke Skywalker. I don't think he's the best hero.
Oh, I think you're crazy.
No.
I love Luke Skywalker when he marches into Jabba's palace. That's when I love him. I don't really love him in Empire because I feel for him when he gets his hand chopped off.
Whiny.
But yeah, when he walks into Jabba's palace with his green lightsaber,
It's not possible.
It's hard to not love Luke in
It is hard not
the
to.
final confrontation with Darth Vader and the Death Star 2.
Death Star 2.0.
Yep. But yeah, Batman, man. He's like,
It's that Batman,
it's
man.
that Batman, man. He's iconic, well developed, well written, and also I think a thing that's interesting about a really good character is he can be portrayed in film by multiple actors. He can be written by multiple writers. Something
There can
like
be
that.
multiple interpretations of the same character.
Exactly. You know, you have James Bond, for example. There's been like 5 or 6 people.
I was gonna bring up Bond.
There's like 5 or 6 people that play James Bond, but we love James Bond for the character, not necessarily because we like Sean Connery or we like Daniel Craig.
But do we love Sean Connery?
We love Sean Connery. But Batman and Bond, you know, that's that type of character that you can have somebody fill that role, or you can have somebody give new life to that character, that you're still going to like that character. Mm-hmm. So I would say Batman. I'm locking it in, actually.
You're locking in Batman.
Batman / Bruce Wayne, best fictional character.
I think Batman is a really strong pick, and I think that comic book movies and comic book characters are really special because of that fact.
The different interpretations.
50 years ago, would we have said Batman was the best fictional character? Probably not.
You know who helped?
George Clooney.
Nolan. No, God.
God team.
Edit that out.
Edit it out. Everything we say that's wrong. Edit it out. Who helped it? Christopher Nolan?
Christopher Nolan.
He made the most successful Batman movies.
Film-wise, yes. Frank Miller, writing.
George Clooney.
So Batman is on my top 2.
Yes.
All right, so top 1.
I don't know my top 1 because they're
Oh
currently
my
duking.
gosh.
No, shut up.
Shut the
They're currently duking it out. But I just want to bring one up for, just for discussion's sake. Sherlock Holmes.
Ooh. That's also one of those characters that is...
Less so, though. Less so in
Than
terms
Batman.
of iconic. I mean, maybe in the
Really?
UK. Yeah, absolutely.
Really? You're going to say Sherlock Holmes is less iconic than Batman?
In America.
In the United States, 100%. I bet you could ask who's Sherlock Holmes to 60% of the people here, and they wouldn't know.
But they would know, they would. I think even grade school kids, if you said who's Sherlock Holmes, they would get the picture.
I don't know, man.
No,
I think that we have moved away from... No, and I am a Sherlock Holmes lover, but I don't think that's as much a popular icon,
As
a
Batman?
popular figure.
No way. Not even close.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would say even universally, Bond is more
Yeah.
iconic
Yeah.
and more recognized than Sherlock Holmes. Yeah. It's unfortunate because Sherlock Holmes is a fucking fantastic character.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look into this more, but I would say that Sherlock Holmes is a classic literary fictional
I would say
character.
Superman's more iconic than Sherlock Holmes.
No
In the United
way.
States. Now, here's where we get into this thing of cultural boundaries, because when Sherlock Holmes was killed off in the books by... Do you guys remember the author?
Arthur Conan Doyle.
Yes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Thank you. Anyways, when
That
Sherlock
Doyle guy.
Holmes Sherlock Holmes died, the entire country of Britain went into mourning. For a fictional character, when has that ever happened for any other character?
When Superman died. And
No, it didn't.
No one gave a
No
shit.
cared.
This is why people need to read comic books.
But an entire country, there's no way.
You weren't
I
alive
think-
when it happened. So
No. You know what I'm saying?
I was.
When I think of Sherlock Holmes, I don't think of Robert Downey Jr. or Cumberbatch or whatever. The image I get is the black silhouette with the weird ass British hat with the 2 flaps,
And the pipe.
silhouetted with the pipe. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Kids are, at least me, when I was in grade school, I was taught Sherlock Holmes. You read those books.
There's a huge generation gap now, though, because everyone's absorbing their iPhones and their game boxes.
But I think Sherlock Holmes is more prevalent now with multiple TV shows and movies, franchises.
I don't think so. No. Honestly, I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm not arguing that in this specific case, that the iconicness of Sherlock Holmes is his most defining factor. I'm just saying that I think he's more iconic than you guys are giving him credit for.
No, I would say he's iconic, but not in the United States and not more than Batman.
Okay.
Not more than
Batman.
Batman.
If you ask a second grader in the United States of America who Sherlock Holmes is,
he would not.
Tomorrow, I don't think they'd know.
Who's Batman?
Batman versus Superman.
And that's if we're talking about icons, though, that's a good. Oh my gosh!
I'm ready. BVS, I'm ready. I'm gonna put it in my ass. I'm ready.
If we're talking about icons, that's a really good measuring standard.
But it can't be the only.
But okay, so taking the iconicness out of the situation, Sherlock Holmes, I'm submitting that next, since you took Batman, I'm submitting that as my choice for best fictional character.
Interesting.
I think I think that Sherlock Holmes is such an interesting character that there's been so many spin-offs and different versions of the character. The fiction is superb. Like the original Sir Arthur Conan Doyle writings are excellent. They're really interesting, well written. It's a fascinating character. It's a sociopath, a psychologically messed up human being it's intellectual and poetic. And one of my favorite things is that how many characters are inspired by Sherlock Holmes. Like I think about House, right? House is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Not everyone loves House, like the show, but the character of House is 100% based off Sherlock Holmes. 100%. Even the creators are like, yeah, we wanted to make Sherlock Holmes MMD. It's just like the Sherlock Holmes character is the intrigue, novel, like, detective person. That is it. That is, like, Sherlock Holmes is that.
I don't know. I think Batman's the world's greatest detective.
Well, Sherlock Holmes is... Okay, I'm submitting that end of the table. There's Sherlock Holmes.
We got 2 of 3.
So we got 2 of the 3. So, John, give us...
You locking in Sam, or you got other things?
I don't know. I mean, this is just such a huge question.
It's a huge question. And by no means, when we do declare Radiovania's official best fictional character, do we devalue any others. This is just
how good would a Batman Sherlock Holmes team be?
What if Sherlock Holmes became Batman?
That'd be weird.
John?
Well, I did want to say that the popular sort of contemporary interpretations of Sherlock Holmes as a sociopath was not how Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote him. That's something that we've more sort of taken and sort of interpreted it. And it's great, and I think it's also very poignant.
I think we've blown it up.
Right.
No, I do think it was subtle.
In his novels, though, he's more of just like a very brilliant, kind of the classic genius of like, like, what's going on in there? But not like a, people don't understand me,
I'm not saying that's a social.
Yeah. Well, no, but so I think of the Sherlock Holmes series on BBC.
The best one.
Fantastic.
The best.
But that's not the original
I haven't seen
Sherlock Holmes.
No, not at all.
That's a very contemporary Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I know. But, like, doesn't it speak to something that is, like, one of the most successful BBC programs?
Oh, yeah.
Like that?
Oh, yeah, and I think it's a very modern take on
sure.
him.
And I think it's the best take so far. Aside from the original literature.
Right, I would agree.
But moving on from
you guys don't like Robert Downey Jr.?
No, Robert Downey Jr.
No, he's
slowing down time with his mind.
Robert Downey is a fine...
He did a good job.
But
he's not slowing down time.
That's what Jude Law is the best part of those
movies. Are you?
I would agree. Yeah, I really like Jude Law in those movies.
I like Watson better than Sherlock in
Did you,
shows too.
You've seen both of them, you've seen both of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, are they making a third one?
I keep hearing that they are, but they never go into production. I think it might be just caught in limbo.
I wish they would. Because they had all the stuff with Moriarty in the second one.
Yeah, I mean, just for the sake of time, I think I'm gonna stay with Sam. But odds are tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up and be like, wait, no, I changed my mind.
I should have picked Batman.
But frankly, having Sam be up there, I think that I can agree with you guys that, I mean, Batman is just so fucking awesome. I think that I can agree with the two of you that Batman is a fantastic character. He's always been my favorite superhero. And I've not read comics, and I didn't really get into superhero movies until I became friends with John Parker. But Batman has something that I have always loved and always really been drawn towards.
Do you know why? I'm just curious.
Batman?
Is that like the look of the character? Or?
For one thing, he's, like you said, he doesn't have a superpower. He's a hero without being super.
The everyman.
Exactly.
Minus the billion.
For another thing, he has a dark side to him, which not all superheroes convey. Like Superman doesn't really have a dark side to him. I don't know. I mean, unless you get into like the deep side of the comics, but it is not something that's broadcast.
No, it's not. No.
Whereas in every Batman interpretation, there's a dark side.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's why Man of Steel is good.
I agree.
So, anyways, he's just a very real character. He's very iconic. He's a kick-ass crime fighter.
Detective.
The fact that he has two egos, he has the Bruce Wayne, and
he doesn't
has
use glasses.
The Batman. Exactly. He just uses money and Lamborghinis and hot women, which, frankly, that's kick-ass. And honestly, I don't think I can sit here and say that Samwise Gamgee is a better character than Batman when I'm wearing Batman underwear and not Samwise Gamgee underwear.
Can you imagine? I would
buy some Sam underwear. I wanted to say, like, I can't carry for you, but I can't carry you. And it's carrying your balls.
Oh. Anyways.
Marketing.
Hashtag marketing.
I need to talk to New Line Cinema.
Well, it sounds like
I think Batman just stole the show.
I think Batman is the official Radiovania pick, but that doesn't discount the other great characters that we've thrown out on the table.
Absolutely not.
If I had 2 hours, I would argue for George Costanza and show you a bunch of Seinfeld episodes.
That was an interesting toss into the pile.
Yeah, I know. But I'm not about to put George Costanza up with Batman.
Now, John, do you have any other favorites besides Sam? Because Sam was your dual pick. Right. Do you have any other favorites?
Yeah,
just,
you want to give
just for like sake,
just for kicks.
Yeah,
we all also at 2 hours and 15 minutes.
I know you're a huge Maximus fan.
Maximus
Decimus Meridius. He's really good.
Russell Crowe, Nice Guys. When's that coming out?
Oh my gosh!
In a few months, I think. Right?
I'm ready.
Yeah, that's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Oh man, honestly, just the movie buff that I am, I have too many really characters that I love. I love Jim from The Office.
I like Dwight.
Wow.
I like Dwight a lot.
I love Jim from The Office.
That's a pick.
Yeah.
Jim from The Office.
I love I don't know. Oh my god. Yeah, see, I don't know his name, so I can't really say he's my favorite character, but Russell Crowe plays a character in Cinderella Man. He's a boxer who's basically fighting to feed his family.
Yeah.
Fantastic character, truly. Oh gosh, yeah. I don't know. I wish I'd had an hour to prepare a thesis to present here for you.
Thesis.
Yeah, but
nice.
As of now, I think I'll stick with. One of my favorite characters of all time, obviously, is Aragorn. I mean, he's
great.
He's regal. He's a man amongst men. He has that double side too. A ranger of the north, but royal blooded.
I'm actually one of the crazy people. Well, maybe not crazy, but I like the film portrayal of Aragorn better than the book portrayal.
I'd agree with that
because I like how they added the depressive and kind of darker side to Aragorn, where he's refusing his role. He's refusing the call more.
Yeah.
Whereas in the books, he's just like, give me that sword. Let's go. I'm the king.
I'm the king.
I don't think you're crazy for...
Yeah.
I
love Viggo Mortensen.
Great.
So good.
Yeah.
So actually, I mean, in the Lord of the Rings series, my favorite definitely is Aragorn.
Yeah, I like Aragorn, but my favorite's actually Sam.
But Sam as a character is just so good.
Yeah.
And that's been something obviously when I first see the movie, I'm like, oh, Aragorn's a badass. But then you see
Sam's
being older, being more mature, and looking back, and you see Samwise in those movies, you're like, he's more of a hero than them all.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Zach, close us out.
That's been your show. A 2 hour and
big ass double sized show.
Super show.
Later.
Thank you for listening. We appreciate every listen, every follow, every like, every subscription, every 5-star rating on iTunes. It really helps the show out. For right now, Radiovania is a news-based podcast, but I want it to be a lot more. And shows like this really make me happy because it's these sort of funny, quirky, yet intellectual discussions that I get with some of my best friends. And I'm lucky to have best friends that talk about the same kind of stuff and love the same kind of things. And if you want to see more stuff like this, please give us a follow on iTunes, subscribe to the show, give us a rating and a review. Go to Twitter and follow Radiovania or follow Zach Rotello on Twitter. Email the show with questions, comments, show topics, ideas at radiovaniashow@gmail.com. And that's been your show. I'm Zach Rotello.
John Parker.
John Parker's over here.
And I'm John Larson.
And thank you very much for joining.
Peace out, squad.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Walt Disney.
Google.
Nike.
Shut the
Shut the